We're nearly there. After a year of waiting to get back to land, and then another year of prepping for the one that will begin year 3 in the ALGS. We have almost qualified all of the teams who will be attending it, but there's still some drama yet to unfold. In fact, over these next 2 days, day 8 and day 9, we'll be setting up for those who can make it into our regional finals to even have a chance to go towards glory. And we will be deciding within these 2 days who will be staying at home and watching, needing another chance to even get back into the Pro League. It's North America. It's day 8 of the ALGS, and the stakes are as high as they possibly could be. And of course, I cannot call this action myself. My name is Rain Day, and I'm joined for this lovely broadcast by Vicky Kitty and Spider Tiff. Vicky, Tiff, we just witnessed a great moment in EMEA. We saw teams who were in relegation bump out of it. We saw teams who were in the middle of the pack claim a spot in the top 9. That would be, if we ended now, qualified for land in North America. What are your thoughts heading into today that we're going to see, Vicky? And I'll start with you.
There's so many storylines to talk about with North America. Literally do or die situation for a lot of these teams that want to avoid relegation and teams that need to perform at their peak for this season. I'm looking at Energy. I'm looking at Optic Gaming. There's a lot on the line for some of these squads that want to either stay in the Pro League or even want their shot at land.
Tiff as well. There are teams who have yet to prove themselves to be able to win that would work at land. We also have teams who are just trying to get there today.
Yeah, and definitely I want to highlight a lot of those teams coming in from Group C that have 2 match days left to make it into the playoffs. So those teams specifically that happened in EMEA earlier today stood up and rose to the occasion. So I'm looking for the North American Group C teams that are facing relegation to do the same thing now.
If it's anything like the games today in EMEA, it will be some fantastic action. Speaking of the teams who can take a deep breath right now, not that many in North America and EMEA, but not none. We'll get to that in a second. APAC North, APAC South, and South America all have these teams qualified. There was a crazy match point last night, Vicky, or this morning, depending on how you look at it, and it has resulted in all of these teams guaranteeing themselves a spot at land.
Yeah, shout out to Crazy Raccoon with an insane final game. I believe it was game number 13 with double-digit KP that they were able to secure, aside from the dub to actually take it over match point. Very exciting, and I also do believe in the EMEA region, the one team that has 100% guaranteed their spot into playoffs has to be a standout here with the amount of points that they were able to accumulate over their record-breaking days.
It certainly is well-deserved to send our first team from EMEA and North America to secure a spot at land. Will we see another team after the dust has settled in North America join them? We'll have to wait and find out. In fact, it's a good time to segue into the teams that are participating today who have a chance to rack up the points. Team Liquid sitting in second place with 87. The only team ahead of them, 88, is TSM, but holding by a thread to that lead. G2, a team that desperately has to be excellent, Tiff. Otherwise, we may be seeing them not only not have a chance at land, but be risking trying to even stay in the Pro League.
Yeah, they're really interesting and definitely going to be one to watch. We were talking pre-broadcast. They need to be flawless here tonight. They've had a slow start to Pro League Split 1, but they've warmed up really nicely. So hopefully they come out swinging. Another team that I'd like to highlight as well, FaZe, Optic Gaming, some of the names that are big top tier organizations that are facing potential relegation. And we saw them on LAN already, so we want to see them get the opportunity to get back to it, especially Optic.
Well, SSG, Guard, Optic, Luminosity, we have a lot of teams to look at. Even FaZe, as they're continuing to innovate as well. Let's go to the regular season standings, as over the course of this incredible 8 days of competition, soon to be 8 days completed, now starting that 8th day. We've seen Dark Zero, I think, be very successful. LAN winners already proven they expect to get back. It would be a huge disappointment if the Australian APAC South team moved to North America and then didn't qualify here. Look at the teams, Vicky, on that 11th, 12th, 13th spot. That means that they're not quite ready. Unless they win, even though they'll be in the regional finals, unless they win it, they will not be going to LAN. And a lot of teams in there.
Yeah, it's so difficult too because you talked about energy. They need to have a perfect day basically today. They need to be able to pop off. G2 in a bit of a trouble. Seeing them at 17th was not what I was expecting. They also need to have an amazing pop-off day because this is the only last day that they could have that opportunity since they're in Group A to be able to perform to the degree that they want to perform if they want to make it into LAN. And if not, at least perform in a way where they can secure themselves for the Pro League for next split.
Yeah, Optic Gaming definitely going to be doing a lot to change up the meta and feel more comfortable. We spoke to Duke yesterday in an interview, and so we'll expect to see some adjustments here on both Stormpoint and World's Edge. Just showing you the back half as well, 23 to 30th. They're not in a great spot. There's not too much to say about them, so we just wanted to make sure you understood the stakes that they were at. Have to see big performances from them, but overall, I do believe that we will see TIFF performances from those teams that we need to see, that need to perform. That was actually in EMEA what I think really showed for most of us, the fact that teams who actually were in that relegation side had to make a move, and they did, and it changed the pace of the lobby. The top teams who were feeling very comfortable actually didn't perform as well as we would have thought today.
Yeah, that is a really particular point for sure, especially those from Group C. I mentioned it earlier, I was like, they were standing up, they were ready, and hey, only time will tell.
Well, Tiff, again, we can talk about all these teams, but there's always a few that catch our eye as we start our day in the ALGS. Walk me through who you have your eye on going into today.
Well, mine would be none other than the Guard. Everyone's mom's favorite team consists of the IGL RKN, who has the job of not only controlling all of the calls in the game, but controlling the two Stallions, Keon and Rambo themselves. This former Torrent roster has found an immense amount of success thus far in Pro League Split 1, with finding themselves 2 match day wins, currently sitting on the leaderboard in 4th place overall, tied with Dark Zero. However, with the Guard coming from Group C, they do have 2 match days left. Will Apex's favorite long-hair charge rifle God & Co find success here and break the mold, or we'll just have to watch, stand guard, and find out? Vicky, who's your team to watch?
There's a lot for me to say about Optic Gaming because this is going to be my team to watch because they're currently sitting in 20th in the overall standings in NA, but they just took 1st place in the JBL tournament that went down yesterday. I know Rainday got to see a lot of that action, and we saw them go back to their roots where they looked a lot more comfortable using the Caustic and the Gibby on World's Edge, and then the Bang and the Bloodhound on Stormpoint. I got to talk to Duplex before going live today, actually, and he elaborated to me how they just can't stick to the Gibby and Caustic on an open map like Stormpoint, but they're going right back to their comfort zone where they're going to start figuring things out a lot more often. I got to ask you, Rainday, because I know you got to see a lot of that action go down yesterday. Which of these squads do you have in your sights?
Well, you know, I like the optics on both of your picks, and I think the Guard is definitely going to try to defend their position up on top, having won already before. A team that hasn't but needs to desperately, who has taken down the Guard here in some of these clips, is MPS. I mean, a team that has to perform. Sitting pretty well, I think, in terms of performances across the days they've played, and finding themselves now going, okay, it's time to step it up into that level where we can secure not only a spot at LAN, a spot in the playoffs, excuse me, but a spot at LAN. They're coming into this in 8th position, tied for essentially 8th and 9th. This is a huge thing for Pow Madness, and now Shubi, having lost Luda earlier on in the season, to really show that they are a top contender. They won the summer playoffs a year and a half, 2 years ago with CLG. They've had a lot to work through. Can they do it today? MPS, Guard, and of course, Optic teams we are looking at in terms of their performance. It will begin on World's Edge. We'll have 3 games there, then we'll transition into Stormpoint, which will allow us to see what has often caused the Optics and the more established teams some tricky elements that they'll have to get through, whether it's changing their lineup, whether it's using new legends, whether it's finding a way to just get through it, even if it's difficult and they're getting third-partied. Stormpoint typically is the biggest test for them, and that will lead to a very exciting finish, as it was today earlier on in EMEA. If you're interested in watching any of the teams that we highlighted, or you, again, don't care about any of the teams that we just said, I don't know how you could, but hey, it's possible. We're going to give you that opportunity to go and watch any team that interests you with multi-view. That's right. In our command center, you can click down below where the broadcast is showcasing on Twitch and get different perspectives at the same time. So you can watch MPS rotate, you can watch the Guard take a fight, you can watch Optic set up in zone, hear their team comms, and see which one comes out on top in that final fight. Multi-view ALGS, you can do it your way. And, you know, I love talking about things that make the game different. I love talking about how everybody has a way to play. And so to me, one of my favorite segments to kick us off is What's in Your Pack, presented by WD Black. All right, well, let's get into what is in your pack. I know this is a weapon that we had talked a little bit about. Vicky was saying that she could beat me in it with it in a 1v1. I don't know. We'll have to find out maybe at halftime. But Vicky, talk to me about the Prowler as our feature for What's in Your Pack today.
Listen, Rainy, you make it sound like I'm always choosing violence out here, and you know what? You're not wrong, because talking about the Prowler is super important. We've been seeing a lot of the Bangalores out in the lobby, because you could put on that Digi sight on the Prowler. We saw his Watson pop off actually using the Digi sight with the smoke grenades that he was able to put out to kind of gain distance between himself and the rest of the squad. But the Prowler with the 3-round burst beams. I know we didn't have the select fire. A lot of players were a little worried out here, but the fact that the 3-round burst for this weapon puts in so much damage allowed me to almost pull off a 4K yesterday, and that weapon is so good to have if you know how to take advantage of it.
You know, Tiff, she didn't say 4K. She said almost 4K, so can we give it to her? I mean, she got to say 38K, 3800, all right? We can't let her lie on us.
That is what I got.
It's close. It's very close. I'm curious, Vicky. We got to see your rampage sounds, so I'd be curious to hear, what does the Prowler 3 burst sound? I need this.
You gotta hit them with a brah, brah. But you gotta do it 3 times, Gary. That's how it goes with a 3-round burst real quick, especially when it comes to laying down that damage. I know a lot of you guys enjoy the Winter Express. Have been having fun with the Prowler.
That's right. Always a good time when we get to talk about what's in your pack, presented by WD Black. It's great to figure out how we can use different weapons. The flatline was our feature in EMEA. That actually ended up being a huge aspect to one of the winning fights and one of the closing moments that separated a team at the very end by 2 points. In fact, taking the win, VZ in EMEA. Will we have that similar level of separation with a Prowler? Will we see something else mean the difference? Ultimately, as we get our kind of final thoughts heading into game, Vicky, to you, anything particular that you've got your eye on, and maybe predictions, thoughts heading into game 1?
I have my eyes entirely on Optic Gaming. I know they're my team to watch, so that's pretty given, but this is a team that I've been finding to see so much success in the last Pro League. Now, obviously, they haven't been able to replicate that. They're literally on the border of being put into the relegations, and that isn't something that we were expecting from the Green Wall, but they need to have a perfect day today, and I'm talking about top 3, ending the day in top 3. If they don't, I'm seeing Optic Gaming in a lot of trouble, because we know that the meta has not favored them whatsoever.
Tiff, back to you. I mean, predictions, thoughts heading into game 1.
Look, I'm looking towards complexity. I've seen a lot out of them throughout other tournaments this week. They're finding themselves just outside the top 9, and I've seen them in the top 5 on previous Group A vs. C matchups, so I feel like this is a good moment for them to stand up and shine, so I'm keeping my eyes out on complexity.
So many things to keep your eyes on, whether it's multi-view or whether you're watching our main broadcast. We're going to have action for you all day long here to close out EMEA Day 8, North America Day 8. Let's kick it off, though. Game 1 about to begin, and of course, on the call, we've got none other than Vicky Kitty and Spider Tiff.
Hey, thank you so much, Rain Day. So glad to be on the mic with my girl, Tiff. And thank you guys at home for watching the Pro League. Having a lot of the NA action go down today. It's a lot on the line for a lot of our heavy-hitting squads that we were expecting a better successful story for in this first split here, Tiff.
Definitely. I mean, there's so many teams, we've kind of briefly chatted about it in the pre-show, that are from top tier organizations that are facing relegation. And you see right there, Optic Gaming is holding down the fort in Lava City, Big Mod, and the Dome should they decide to really expand their loot pool down there. So it's nice to see them have a smooth start with no contest in that vicinity. But G2, we mentioned them over in Thermal Station, uncontested as well, need to have a flawless time here tonight, Vicky, and I'm a little nervous for them, but I think that they can do well.
I don't know. Maybe I'm one of the naysayers, but I have to say right now that G2, I mean, the fact that they basically have gotten, 48 points in these 5 weeks, it's very difficult to see that come out from the talented individual squad mates of G2. A lot of early skirmishing, though, already going down off the rip from Rack Attack. They've gotten one of the members of Oxygen down. That's going to be Kubsky, and they did finish that kill off.
Yeah, I just feel like if you're going to go out this early and they're going to take one of them, that leaves 2 members left standing. Rack Attack just wanted some early KP and disengage from the fight. They're like, nah, we got one. We'll have the upper hand later. Hopefully they can gather banners and get their teammate back in. But you can see Rakinishu hunting, using that Seer passive. One of the teams still on Seer and not necessarily Crypto, so very fun to see here as well. But that's what you just gotta do. Drop in, go out, guns a-blazing, try to get eliminations throughout the map, because that's what we saw happen in EMEA today. It was a lot of teams looking to find just interesting fights. That's how I'm gonna describe it. It was very interesting, Vicky.
Yeah, it went back and forth between World's Edge and Storm Point a lot too, with the pacing of the matches, especially at the very beginning. But I don't even blame Rack Attack for choosing violence, because this is a team that's actually in dead last right now. So anything counts for this squad. Any KP that they can pick up, and if they start off really strong today, then this could be one of our squads that are in relegations that can at least pull themselves up.
Yeah, this team did come in from the preseason qualifiers, so I feel like getting as much experience throughout Pro League Split 1, even if you are facing relegations to drop back down, have to fight out through the qualifiers against some of the best in Challenger Circuit, at least you already had the experience from going through Split 1. But Dark Zero, a lot of questions on the line for them, coming in tied with the Guard, but I've seen them throw down all the time. They're playing in EMEA scrims, NA scrims, any tournament they can get their hands on, they are truly grinding.
And that's beautiful too, because like we've seen in the other previous tournaments that went down this week, a lot of these squads are able to experiment with different comps that they feel comfortable with, or what they need to do differently. And Dark Zero, all the practice is practice nonetheless for the squad, and they want to stay as consistent as they can on the top end of the leaderboards here in North America. Currently sitting in 4th place right next to the Guard currently right now. They want to look forward to getting to that final circle positioning, as we could take a look at the Skyward Dive and the overhead map to where we're going to be going. I'm expecting maybe a North Fragment East circle here, but the beacon and no name is going to be highly contested north of Geyser.
I think that's going to be where we'll see a little bit of skirmishes throughout the mid-game, teams vying for the vital information of where that zone will pull. We mentioned it earlier, we saw one in EMEA. It was a fragment zone, and the teams that it pulled to found a lot of success, but it looks like the Guard is getting into a little bit of a skirmish over here in Fragment. Gotta hop on the whip and the drone and see where everyone is going for. Meanwhile, Keon kind of trying to get out of the line of sight, heal up, EMP going out so they could farm their Evo shields, because when you're on triple napkins, not a good start.
No, but it is the start of the game, at least for them, and their game plan here is to be able to babysit that beacon with the crypto drone. The issue is with some of these early rotations for squads like the Guard, especially in the middle of Fragment, you're predicting where the zone is going to be pulling. We've seen the bridge circle before. We've also seen it pull more so towards the train area of Fragment, but you're stuck in the middle between a lot of teams. So what better way to negate any sort of bombardment, rolling thunders, or even a plethora of grenades than the Watson generator that's right behind you while you're trying to farm your Evo shields.
And you do benefit from the 250 shields that pylon will give you, so you don't have to waste a lot of the health. That's going to be really beneficial to them, because if you are rotating early, we saw it happen in EMEA with Fire Beavers. They were running incredibly low on ammo, so you have to be precise, take well-timed fights to get the loot from your enemies, because you're not going to be finding it on your journey as well. But just taking it smooth, calm, and collected. Rack Attack on your screen looks like they're benefiting from some nice Evo shields and early damage. See your tactical going out, looking for some information. See it there on the heartbeat, so they're hunting.
Yeah, they see that there is a team that's right in front of them. I'm thinking about the squads that could have already early rotated away from Big Mod Lava City, and I'm thinking Optic Gaming, who usually likes to rotate in this direction here. Maybe he's stuck inside of the tunnel. Yeah, you can see the overhead map actually right now. It is going to be Optic Gaming that are inside the tunnel at the moment. I highlighted what they're doing differently and what we saw them do that allowed them to actually win that tournament yesterday. I believe they secured, what, 30K, 15K in first place here. So what they did find successful after I talked to Duplex was sticking to their roots, where they found way more comfortable results when they did play on World's Edge, which is running the Cossack and Gibby. Yeah, we've been seeing a comp change going onto Storm Point, but if that's what worked out for Optic Gaming, I'm excited to see what that's going to bring for them in terms of how they're going to do here on World's Edge, since this is where the first 3 games are going to be played on.
And that's some of the things that we've been hearing from the players when we get to talk to them via interviews, especially Luminosity. They were highlighting, yo, these are the legends that we feel comfortable playing, that Gibby, Caustic, Valk comp. So if Optic also is feeling very much comfortable and can find that being successful for them, then that's exactly what they need to do, because we want them to get back to the playoffs, to LAN, and be able to show out. Because honestly, what better sound is there than to hear Duke just screamed throughout an immense stadium?
It's always so exciting too. That energy in LAN is just completely different than what you would get when you're popping off in your own bedroom. And there's also nerves on the line here too. Love how you highlighted where a lot of these teams, especially after the interviews that we've had with them, is actually looking at Luminosity. One of the interviews that we had with Luminosity talking about where they feel more comfortable, and the only other squad aside from Optic Gaming that are rocking the Caustic and the Gibby on top of it, and they've been able to find amazing success with this team composition. That's why they're sitting in 6th place overall in North America. You can see them put down the pings, and I do believe they're making the rotation from the launch site area, so they quite literally rotated all around from the south side north through Lava City and Big Mod.
All the teams still left alive. I think I saw a knock go on to one of the Dark Zero members, and that was probably from MPS, which was Rain Day's team to watch. So they may be vying it out at that beacon outside of the Geyser choke point that you were talking about. So a lot of teams needing to find their way into the zone as it kind of collapses around Fragment, which makes me really excited, because why not kick off a World's Edge map 1 with a Fragment ending, but Luminosity just biding their time just on the outskirts of Geyser, not necessarily committing to pushing through just yet. They will have Yanya with the Skyward Dive should they need it, but it doesn't seem like they're wanting to make that play just yet.
Yeah, taking their time, actually. Not only is Luminosity playing on the edge and they're pinpointing where the other teams are on the high ground over by that choke point in Geyser, this may force Luminosity to rotate through the tunnel section, because if they do get gate capped here, that could be Optic Gaming that have made that longer rotate away from the tunnel. Sentinels involved in the fight early on too. They're going to be able to delete that crypto drone before the EMP unleashes, and they're playing outside of the epicenter area, but they are inside this next circle, so they can be pretty comfy, especially with their purple Evo shields that they're rocking.
Ooh, FaZe on the bottom of the tower in epicenter, nestled in here. Sentinels just on the outskirts, getting tagged up a little bit, but no one necessarily committing to a fight just yet. An elimination feed full of charge rifles, Vicky, but CLG, our first team to go out.
Team Liquid out here playing on the outside part of Fragment West in the construction building. If we could get that overhead map, but gonna be able to get that finisher with the charge rifle. We saw it putting in the work in EMEA. We see it continuing on its domination, and now Optic in a lot of trouble too. Lots of fighting happening here as Sentinels take to the skies here in epicenter. They know that there's that team that's still playing underneath them, but I like the call to disengage and then re-engage on the high ground afterwards, because they sensed that the third party was coming in soon.
Hopefully they're able to get that banner back, but Rack Attack was the team that was coming out of Geyser. Luminosity hopefully made their way throughout, because it seems as if Rack Attack is focusing on a different team as well, while Sentinels just holding the high ground, trying to farm their shields the best that they possibly can. And I find it very interesting. So many teams lately choosing the 30-30 over the Scout.
Could be a comfort thing here too for a lot of these individual players. Of course, we've been seeing the same type of domination with the charge rifle. Don't really have to worry about any bullet drop off out here. And with the replicator also having the purple sniper scope, the 4x8 makes it easier for the teams that land usually by a replicator in their POIs. Team Liquid holding the choke point, I must elaborate here. Aside from the fact that they picked up a good amount of KP, they're also having amazing loot. You got the gold Evo on sight, you got the 2x4 on that charge rifle, even without that stock. And Team Liquid are holding this choke point to try to deny this space to the squads that are forced to rotate to the south lava site.
This is really well done for them. Team Liquid coming off match day number 5 with a win on this last Group A versus C meetup. So looking to stay relatively consistent here, finding all of the information and just absolutely being menaces with the charge rifle. You see the ring kind of collapsing, and Team Smiley coming in from the overlook side. Complexity still alive and well just on the inside of the ring, and this should be really interesting. First attempt is holding just on the outskirts of the epicenter near that cliff, and could find a lot of success gatekeeping the teams coming from epicenter.
Rack Attack are not letting Optic go here too. Optic, I believe, managed to have gotten that one straggler right back into this lobby here, but a rough start here for the team that we were highlighting before. Team Liquid, on the other hand, have been one of the most consistent teams next to teams like TSM to stay on top of NA, and they're still putting in a lot of pressure from the high ground. Fragment FaZe, though, in a lot of trouble themselves. The EMP coming out, but not from the FaZe side of things, as Upper Lady unleashes that. They keep the Watson fences there to keep the cover, and G2 clean up FaZe. This was well needed here for G2, because this is one of the teams that we were talking about before, but here comes Sentinels dropping down from the high ground.
Oh, but a well-timed third party from the bots. They're going to save G2, utilizing the Rolling Thunder for some extra cover, coupled with the bank smokes to try and get the reset onto design. But bots want in on this action.
Our Lily's fences are just a thorn on the side here for this team, but the bots have the health advantage right now. They're looking to clean up what is left of G2. Design results will go out here, so currently now the rest of bots are going to be able to loot up and take all of that away from G2 and what they needed.
Not necessarily a full team wipe, with one member of G2 able to skirmish out of Epicenter. Bots really doing what they needed to do, finding some eliminations. You've got a teammate like JQ. I've had a lot of time just to kind of drop into their Twitch stream to see how they grind, how they play, young, up and coming. So I'm excited to see. They came in from the preseason qualifier via points, and they haven't necessarily had a huge pop-up moment here in Split 1 Pro League, but some of their 3v3s are impeccable, and that third-party timing was really nice.
Yeah, they're very inconsistent is the problem, and if they want to be able to stay in the Pro League, they need to perform here today as well, because they're on the cusp of getting put right back into relegations. So he's tuned right back into Team Liquid, who are still playing off of this southern side of Fragment. They've been able to put in a lot of damage with the charge rifle, with a lot of their longer range weapons that they've been able to work with. But they were also able to gatekeep some of the squads that wanted to get out of the geyser area too. I do believe if we get the overhead map that we see a squad flying in, the skyward dives have been unleashed. I know Optic Gaming is flying into Fragment here too, but where to land is the question.
Need to find an open building available to them. I'd be interesting to see Team Liquid kind of wrap around, play this respawn beacon and the rock, especially if they have the charge rifle with a plethora of ammo. You can see, not gonna throw the tactical out from Seer just yet, but Heartbeat Center passive.
Oh, wow.
Oh, meanwhile, look at that. Nice little kill lead. 3 eliminations. A Rack Attack gonna hit the hay. 16 squads remaining, and they're turning their sights on to their next victims.
The beauty of the charge rifle here, Fun is farming. He got that one knock from Rack Attack in the middle, that skyward dive, and you can already see with him rocking the red Evo, they're looking to continue on this domination from the southern side of the map. They just have to walk it into this next circle here, but they do know that there is that team that's sharing that building off to the right side.
Nobody panic, but we got bandits out there.
Yeah, but I love the positioning. They have the ability to hold this with the Watson Jenny and the fences. They can kind of poke at the team in front of them, just eat up all of their heals before fully sending it on. They don't have too far to go to get inside that next ring, and you see right there, taking to the ultimate high ground on that tower is going to allow them to poke and prod every single team that's going to be rotating out of frag.
With this circle, though, pulling on the north side of No Name, we know that one of the best places to hold, if you have a Watson Gen especially, is inside that truck. I know we've seen teams like Complexity call out this circle before in the past in our other Pro League days, and wondering if they were able to get there quickly here, as Team Liquid are still going to play off the south side. They're trying to put in some pressure into the squads that are going to be exiting out of Fragment East, because once that zone closes in for the next circle, it's going to be a bloodbath for the squads that are forced to funnel out of Fragment.
Yeah, there's only 1 or 2 corners of a building available in frag that's going to be in the next zone, and I believe NRG is kind of holed up in that building. We were talking about teams that need to do immensely well here tonight, NRG being one of them.
NRG, Optic Gaming, 100 Thieves, Dark Zero, all going to be rotating away from Fragment. 16 squads left in this lobby. And we are moving on to our next circle here. 10 seconds up before the zone closes in, and Team Liquid are looking to find a way to close in the gap with this team right in front of them. They put down the Gibby bubble, so we know it's Luminosity being the only other team in this lobby rocking that Gibby. Fun gets almost deleted here, forced to pop the shield back.
They're taking this really slow and concise, because if they go out here, it's not going to be of value to them. Fun throwing out the Seer exhibit to find some information, but the guard not able to hold on to this just thoroughly. They're kind of coupled up into frag, and that's going to be NRG on the top of their building. Guild taking that shield back, taking it slow and concise, throwing down the fences. They heal up, they go back down, the trade's coming out. MPS, meanwhile, going to be eliminated, but this is going to be a really tough position considering the guard is just all in top of each other trying to heal up.
That's 4 squads in these buildings alone. 100 Thieves, NRG, Optic Gaming, the guard. No one of the members have slept on the other side right here too, having to back away from that seer. Tactical here. Complexity have already taken control over that truck. Look how they painted the outside of it, lining it with those Watson fences. And Complexity are also going to be able to put in so much damage on the teams that are forced to rotate underneath that bridge area where the railroad tracks are in control from the likes of Oxygen.
Lux out here doing work with the Watson fences. Let's go ahead and jump into our first listen-in of the day, presented by WD Black with Complexity.
In between me right now. I'm healing, or not healing, I'm rampaging up. Watch north. We need to pressure that team as much as fucking... There's a down guy on me, 2 down guys, okay, they all died.
Yeah, they're in a bubble resing.
Okay.
I think they left the pills, by the way, and they took tight.
Okay. Then we need to play there. Or they're hiding in the close pill.
Watch, it was a green clear.
Give me right here. Do it at least.
Okay,
I hit
we're
the
just
button for
playing,
100.
we're playing into this head
Okay.
Bandit here.
Yeah, I have to wall a little past that, actually.
Yeah,
That's not in.
that's fine.
I might have to, like, play for, like, the box or something.
They're Moby resing.
Can't really do much to stop them. We can pressure them. We're gonna kill them.
They might be getting pressured right now. I'm with you guys.
I'm going back. This guy's looking.
I'll put a Moby shield there.
We just need to worry about our walking. That's it.
Yep.
I'm healing and then getting my gen. Yep.
Try to pressure him off the Moby res.
Fine, yeah.
He's off of it. We're good. I'm coming back.
Yeah, we might even work up to those.
Squad, got a bandit here.
Outside.
They knuckled it.
Yeah, 46. Cracks.
Okay, nice.
I only have 30 bullets.
Flash. Dead. They're landing at
Nice.
pills.
Keep an eye on southwest still. People have
Dead.
to rotate in.
Nice. Yep, we have to hold this.
Right
hold
here.
this now. I need to bubble
They're
back
fight,
soon.
they're fight. We're good.
47 on the height.
Keep playing left.
Yep.
We'll go up last second.
Yep. I need to.
I'm playing up already.
We need to see what's in. This is it. We should move there.
I'm moving there right now. I'm ulting there.
They're beautiful comps coming in from Complexity, holding awesome off angles here too as the gen comes out to negate some of the grenade damage. Coming in from Space Station, hailing from the high ground right now. 3 squads left originally before the last straggler slept on get deleted, and with 2 squads left, it's gonna be Space Station versus Complexity.
A beautiful isolated 3v3. The question is, will Space Station come out on top? You see Drop taking a lot of damage there, utilizing the missile storms to kind of stun them up. Is able to get that bat off, but Complexity trying to find any cheeky angle they can while controlling the space. Their Newcastle wall looks a little worse for wear, but I'm loving the positioning on that head space that Lux has.
These grenades are lethal. Complexity, specifically Monsoon, needing to reset real quick here, but with Space Station having the reset with the death boxes on the high ground, they have no issue farming a lot more of this damage with these nades.
Really challenging here, especially with Complexity not having the Jenny available to them, and that's why those frags, the lethals, proving to be a very big thorn in the side for Complexity. And now it's a war of attrition. Space Station has the high ground advantage, should be able to make this happen. The question is, if the ring closes to a point where Space Station has to drop off first, that could make them have a disadvantage to Complexity.
Looks like the circle is right behind Complexity's back here, though. So Space Station have all the room to breathe, and Complexity are forced to funnel into their line of sight right now here, too. They have the natural cover of the rocks. They're trying to take different off angles so that way they're not funneled in one direction. Now the Seer ult coming out means that Complexity have to be careful. They don't have a crypto on the team. They don't have an EMP to negate that information that Space Station currently has.
Doesn't look like they have any more grenades available to themselves either. The Monsoon, though, has that rampage, and we saw just what it was able to do to the members of Luminosity, and they're split just a little bit, but Monsoon is going to be funneled just into their LOS right now. A little bit of dancing does get tagged up, forced to have to bat. The question is, do you have time to heal before Space Station completely ends in?
See right now, Complexity just playing out the low ground currently. trying to find a way. Space Station dropping down. Drop falls incredibly low right now. The health advantage and Complexity side, and they're going to be able to take advantage of the Newcastle wall for some natural cover. Complexity taking the other alpha angles. They got the rampage. They got it charged up, and Complexity are your game one winners. An amazing performance from Complexity already off the rip here. Not only securing KP, but they called out that final circle amazingly from the very beginning. As we bring back Rain Day, gotta ask your thoughts here, Rain Day. What did you expect from North America than an explosive finish?
I mean, I'm very happy. You guys are great. I'll join in there. I think I look all right too. I think Complexity look even better than anybody. So that's what made me so excited about that performance. It was a game of patience, and it was like, who's gonna go first? Who's gonna basically have this moment that we give in a little bit more? And they thought SSG that they had it, and that's when they actually were able to catch Monsoon rotating to the left. Take it easy, Tiff. We're gonna talk a little bit more with Vicky and I. Have a rest. Great call on game number 1. But yeah, what I noticed, Vicky, was that in that final circle, that moment, Monsoon created this angle for Lux to kind of hold off, and Lux hitting the shots that needed to be hit. A big headshot, 47, big 34, responding with that G7 scalp. It gave Monsoon some time to rotate back. They did damage. SSG were then almost forced off, and I think Drops felt that Monsoon could not heal up in time, but Lux ended up passing down a shield battery. Monsoon hits it just in time, and I think that's where Dropped and SSG make that push that doesn't end up going their way, and Monsoon able to warp right back around and then end up finishing that off with the rampage. It was a great end game from both teams, though. I mean, nobody was giving an inch. They had to be winning that on their own, and I loved what we saw from both teams there, Vicky.
Yeah, definitely have to agree right there too. With the way that Space Station held that high ground, they also had death boxes at their feet that they could use to either pull grenades if they didn't have enough bag space, or shield swaps if they needed to real quick. Drop took a lot of damage the moment that Space Station called themselves off from the high ground and into the line of sight of Complexity, who still had natural cover to work with the rocks as well as a Newcastle wall that they were able to play around.
Interestingly enough, when you describe what made Complexity have a chance in that game, I think it came down to the early part of the ring, not the later part, because they had that rock to play off and those grenades were hitting. But Monsoon, because they were rocking the Newcastle, had a chance to go back and forth between the castle wall, which was partially destroyed, but gave them another angle to be able to spread out that damage and not have too much of a 2-for-1, 3-for-1 kind of moment, because SSG was trying to find that moment every single time. And it goes back to lineups. How valuable is this Newcastle? How good is Complexity able to be if they start figuring this out? What can they do today? That might be surprising. Remember, MPS and SSG are at 59 points overall. Complexity's 57. They're 2 points behind. These are two teams vying for that last spot to be able to secure being in land. So that had huge implications overall.
That's so big to highlight too, because being on that border implies that you need to have a pop-off day today. And Complexity started off incredibly strong and have been rather inconsistent, but predicting these final circles have always come in clutch for them. And then we saw a lot of chaos go down over by Epicenter between G2, FaZe. We saw the third party roll in, and then Team Liquid also dominating the control over on the south side of the circle, but maybe taking too much time to rotate in the direction of where Complexity was sitting pretty.
And when you do take time to do things, you might miss your window. Luminosity fighting a lot. Early game, they get taken out by Monsoon, picking up what I like to call a brace. Could be a hat trick if you get all of the members flying in a skyward dive down before they hit the ground. It was just one in the air, one on the ground. And this is where Complexity really had to make a hold. They end up doing so. Liquid going up against Dark Zero. That would be an early exit for them, and Liquid will come out on top, I think, with a decent amount of points. Even though they didn't really get to that final zone that they hoped for, they would find kills, and Sykes would continue to perform. But Vicky, it really did come down to whether you were in that zone early enough. A lot of these skirmishes were KP opportunities for these teams like NRG, but it really hurt them in terms of getting into position late game.
Yeah, we saw so many teams also take control over that building. It was like 4 or 5 squads that were trying to share that same exact building. It's difficult, though, when you're forced into the line of sight of where the other squads were holding on the high ground. Like Oxygen, Complexity called it from the very beginning, but Space Station had one of the best positions on the high ground, and we end our first game with Complexity not only taking the dub, but the 6 KP to their name to match that with Space Station.
Yep, Complexity, Space Station slept on, round out our top 3. The guard, though, we're going to get 1 more extra point due to 3 more kills. and that'll bring them up to 10. Then we have Oxygen Esports after that. LG, we saw them in a lot of engagements. NRG as well. It wasn't a great game for them, but it wasn't a bad game. And it's kind of the metric I use. Can you get 5 to 7 points on your average games, your bad games? That's what I'm hoping for. On the flip side, though, Vicky, we see Liquid as well. Not a great placement, but good amount of kills. They're in that 6 range. So far, a lot of our teams who have already been successful working a pretty good game 1 to stay in this overall.
Yeah, getting the KP vote. We got to see those placement points. We saw them with their slower rotate on the edge of the circle. I mean, Team Liquid is one of those edge squads that like to be able to contest other teams that are in the middle of their rotation. G2 also getting third party at the end of their previous fight with FaZe. Sentinels also in the bottom. It's another team that needs to be able to perform as well because they're at risk of relegations too, as well as FaZe actually that were caught in the chaos and epicenter.
MPS having a worse game than we would have expected because clearly this is also a team alongside Space Station, alongside Complexity, that's going to need a fight for that final spot. It would be a very interesting dynamic if MPS, having performed so well in this day that they need it, wouldn't be able to get the job done. Still so many more games to go, though. No one is out of it. No one is really in it yet. We just got it started. In fact, game 2 is going to tell us a lot about whether this was a fluke or whether we're really going to see Complexity and SSG keep battling it out for that top spot here today. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with game 2 of NA.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Well, we're back here with more North American ALGS action. My name is Rain Day. I'm joined by Vicky Kitty. We're going to cast game 2 and talk a little bit about what we need from these teams if they're going to make it to LAN. That is what it is all about now as we head into our final 2 days of Pro League before our regional finals. And that means cutoffs are happening in just the games after this. So you got to get ready. And you got to get ready quickly as we land into World's Edge. It's 2 of 3 games here today. We'll switch on to Storm Point afterwards. But it is very important for teams who have a strong World's Edge to make sure that they are felt in this one. Complexity, a team I feel does do well on World's Edge. SSG, a team I've actually seen perform a lot on Storm Point. So the fact that they got second, Vicky, I think this is a great sign for them. They have been getting better and better, and they are a team with a lot of potential to shake up these standings.
Yeah, and right alongside Space Station getting second with the same amount of KP. It's always nice to see these squads that know what's on the line right now, understand exactly what they got to do in terms of how they should play, whether it be for Final Circle, whether it be for Beacon Control, or even KP heavy teams as well. So moving into game number 2, as we also take a look at Complexity and where they're going to be rotating to. They're actually inside the circle, and they have the Beacon right next to them in Fragment East, so they'll be able to get that next set of information before planning where their next move.
One big thing to know, even though Complexity and SSG are actually only a couple of points away from each other in terms of standings, Complexity has played 1 extra game. This is the last day for Complexity to be playing out of Group A. And SSG not only has today, but they have Thursday as well before the regional finals on Sunday. So for SSG, keeping pace with Complexity, it's not enough for Complexity to be able to overtake them. Complexity are going to have to hope for a great day. They're going to have to hope for SSG to maybe have 2 lackluster days alongside NRG, who are in the exact same position, just 3 points behind SSG, 1 point behind Complexity. And so you can see that, yes, you know, the performances have gotten better from Complexity. They've been pretty consistent, but those 4s and those 5s that they've had in those last 2 days have really hurt the first 3 days they had. They got 16 points out of that. They were actually a pretty high-performing team in the first half of this. So looking to return to form, they're going to need it.
Really brings it to question what went wrong for that team, or they started to figure things off by the end of the day, and the last day that we actually saw them perform in. I think they got 3rd place in day 7. Now starting off incredibly strong here. We tune into CLG first, though, trying to engage in an early fight out here to the side of Lava Siphon. A lot of teams already are making their rotation, though, into this next circle. Expect to get very hot in Geyser, because this is where we could expect a circle like this to be pulling. CLG, though, more charge rifles in the lobby. Are you kidding me, though? It's like you're lighting up the sky like fireworks out here when it comes to pressuring out these skyward dives with that charge rifle.
Oh, boy, it's great when you have it. Not great when it's being used against you. CLG do find a spot, and it'll be smoked. Dark Zero, maybe some aggressors in this engagement. And it's Sharky actually getting aggressed on, goes down early, and this is to Optic. Optic looking to maybe take down all of Dark Zero, and this is a terrible start for DZ. They did not have a great game 1. They didn't have a horrible game 1, but this certainly would be a devastating game 2. What can Jin Burton do to salvage at least 1 KP? No, they save him, and though Duplex goes down to the spray for one of the controller gods in Apex, Jin Burton, it is not enough. Skittlecakes and Noct will come to the rescue, and they'll even continue fighting here, as now Duplex is not able to get brought back up yet.
I cannot believe that just happened right now to Optic Gaming. Duplex was not expecting Jen to be on the underside of the building here. It's MPS that are also sharing this building with Optic Gaming. So already high contention going down here for some of these buildings in Geyser. And with MPS being one of the other squads rocking the Newcastle alongside Complexity here, this is going to work out beautifully for them, because they can just set up that Newcastle wall to actually contest some of these congested alleyway areas inside of these buildings.
Madness getting pushed here by Optic. And there's a lot of frustration going on between these teams. It's a tough choke point to play in. Even more frustrating, it's going to be the toxic gas. Grenade thrown, and MPS having to back all the way up despite the castle wall from Pow Pow. Madness and them trapped in a weird corner. Impressed with Optic, how aggressive they're playing, Vicky, even though they've lost 2. It's the trust of what Noct and Skittlecakes can do, the Caustic Valkyrie combo, and just the combo of these 2 players who are so skillful and have been tasked with being tested for a lot over this last year, and have proven that they are definitely a team that can get the job done in a fight.
The big issue here is that with so many other teams making their way into Geyser, who've already been able to contest and involve themselves in some of these fights, Optic Gaming have to now stave off not just MPS inside of this building, but the teams to their south as well. Skittlecakes obviously being on the Caustic, this is going to be very helpful and play into their game strat here, because they're going to be able to bunker down, gas out any of the competitors that want to try to fight for them in this building. But the Nox grenade could definitely come in clutch if it doesn't run into a Watson team generator, or even the EMP that could delete these Caustic barrels, which would just allow MPS to come in thanks to the griefing that the EMP would do to Optic.
Just really surprised at how aggressive Skittles is getting, and MPS, they have to know that there's just 2. There's a grenade. They're actually gonna have to get in front of this now, otherwise gonna take damage from it, and Pow Pow decides not to, and that was a problem for the rest of the squad. Madness goes down, and no way are you telling me that Optic take a 2
Skittles mad.
versus 3 against MPS, and they come out on top with purple shields.
Oh, Skittlecake says, I'm done playing around right now. That's why he got aggressive. He's trying to find a nice angle opportunity to prevent the rest from coming in. He needs to back off. He needs to pop the shield back. And with the caustic trap also blocking the door right behind him and a death box on the other side, they're not too worried of a third party rolling in. They get Pow Pow down, and Optic Gaming are looking to continuously dominate the inside of this building now with a 2v2.
SSG Frex falling as well as Phase snipe down. CLG Mamba picking up a couple kills as we stay with this one because it's just so fascinating. MPS is out. CLG now in the same position. Optic, are they going to try their luck for the second time? If I were them, I would start backing off because Mamba, Dimi, and Nano are in a very different position and are just as or more deadly in terms of a team fight than the members of MPS. Skittles and Nox not moving an inch, though. You have to commend the play that they have already showcased just in this moment. They're not going down without a fight. And they're probably taking one of you down with them.
Sitting at the edge of my seat right now, looking at Optic Gaming. They don't even have doors to help block their backs right now. So their backs could be exposed if they try to push in on this. And exactly what I was talking about in terms of a counter pick comp that could put Optic Gaming in a troublesome situation is on the other side of that Newcastle wall. And it's got to be the Watson. It's got to be the Crypto. That EMP could just start the engagement for this team. Optic Gaming, now understanding that this squad has the information that they need to know that it's just a duo playing on the other side, may want to discover what they want to do next. Because if they could back away, maybe get Duke back in, it'd be great news for them. But they know that there's other teams in the area. They try to engage her. Skittlecakes with a beam on the full and a Digi threat.
And it's the pressure from the Caustic gas canisters. And this is why Caustic is so good in these enclosed situations. Skittlecakes, though, taking a lot of damage from outside. This would be the moment. If they hadn't already done so much damage to the team in front of them, that CLG might have been able to push. Skittlecake still having to hit a med kit and will do so now. Luckily, all of these boxes and resources are available for Optic Gaming to utilize. But CLG, and I feel like anyone in this position, is being taken advantage of here for several reasons. One of the things, Vicky, is that the angle obviously is so minuscule that you could shoot at Optic without committing. Optic also being willing to push down this hallway, get a couple of shots, and then back off. And look right here, CLG doing that. I feel like this is all that they needed to do to win this fight. Optic were just posturing, and you can tell that's such a big part of this. Skittlecakes will make it outside, but it'll certainly be the end of this do-si-do that Nox and Skittlecakes pulled off for far too long.
Yeah, knocked out of here, but again, they have Duplex's banner at the very least right now. CLG not only having the number advantage, but also having the advantage in deleting those caustic barrels with the EMP before starting off their engagement. And not only that, they also had the black market that was left from MPS behind here for them to work with. And Madness obviously being on that Loba set that down right before CLG cleaned them up. So they have all the loot to work with without giving up this building on top of it all.
CLG, somebody, whether it was MPS, Optic was going to have this building and feel good about it. CLG just, I think, came at the right time. Optic, most likely, I would imagine Skittles would be underneath.
We can cruise over here.
It's one of those places you can play outside as a solo for a while. Not forever, though. Nothing lasts forever. NRG realized that, too. And even though they're set up here, they are outside of where the zone will most likely pull, but they've got flexibility to either approach, play edge, as Gilderson's is on the Loba, with the Watson on Nathan, and also find maybe the right timing to make a move and contest one of these teams as they do enter into the fray and the zone moves in. Sometimes that little bit of, hey, we're fighting this other team. There's another squad that's got our eye, and another team skyward dives onto you in the perfect time. It can make a third party very, very easy. You can see Team Liquid have almost the same idea, getting shot at from NRG, and several of the teams already below in Geyser. They're going to get a little bit more advanced in their landing, but watch out. They may just run into Luminosity Gaming. It's a good spot from Liquid to make sure they're inbounds and they are not in danger. So a nice skyward dive there, even though a bunch of teams in that area.
A lot of teams that also already called very early that this was going to be a Geyser circle. Specifically, Oxygen that land here in Geyser has allowed Oxygen to actually take control over the north side building of a Geyser that overlooks a lot of the high ground action. So they're essentially sitting in God spot right now as we look at what Team Liquid is kind of peaking at right now with the other teams playing right underneath them, trying to figure out where they could go to secure some of that extra space that works better for their team comp.
100 Thieves rotating on the northwestern side. Team Smiley, Sentinels, first attempt as well, making their way south into the zone as round 3 comes to an end in 1 minute and 35 seconds. LG, G2, NRG on the southwestern border of Geyser. And you already know several of the teams that are already inside. Optic Gaming no longer around, but the Guard, Space Station, CLG, and FaZe Clan. Very interestingly enough, will they have a pop-off day messing around with the Catalyst? You'd love to see it. Here's a team that needs to go big or go home. Vicky, it's G2 under some duress with the defensive bombardment. And Chaotic Much just trying to hold this angle.
Oh, gets the crack right here. Nice hip fire shots coming in from Chaotic Much. They have to try to finish this fight quickly, though, because they could get put into a pinch situation if they're not careful for the squad that could be rotating from the bridge area right to their backs currently. G2 take the alley-oop on the gravity lift.
Nice.
They get that knock onto Nizel right here, too. Luminosity getting beamed by Chaotic that has a high ground.
Really surprised. Luminosity Gaming are really not winning this fight against G2. I'd say Luminosity is far and away in the better side over the course of this split, but G2... we've always known they have the potential. They just haven't put it together. In this team fight, they do. But is it too little and too late? As NRG come to pick up the pieces. Skilderson's leading with the 2x4 on the R301. That's another box of resources. Not that he needs it playing the Loba. He just drops that black market boutique behind, and they've got shield swaps and all the ammo they could possibly use. As NRG now with 10 points.
I can't get over how unfortunate these third-party timings have been for G2. They come out on top for these fights, but it's always the third party that times it perfectly to roll in and scoop up whatever is left of G2 since they don't have the chance to reset in time. Especially with the little Bloodhound legs, not much where you could go, especially if you don't have that Beast of the Hunt activated there at the very end of that fight. NRG are going to absolutely come out on top here. And like you mentioned already, Rain, they got the black market. So without even having to put themselves in a vulnerable position, they're going to be able to scoop up any additional loot that they need. Tuning into the other side of the hill from the Geyser area, it's going to be 100 Thieves. They love this choke point right here. You can toss out that thermite. It does land right here, right behind that rock. Gets a lot of tick damage from them. And with the circle closing in right behind their back, 100 Thieves are looking to farm.
And this is a zone you got to move out of. It's not that it's too bad, but when you're getting this amount of damage coming onto you to start out and you've got to heal, it's just not a fight you could win. And that's Sentinels eliminated. Yesterday, Duplex voiced a little bit of frustration with a push that could have cost them several $1,000s from Sentinels that took them out of the final game of a tournament. And maybe that's just the problem. When you look at G2 and we look at maybe Sentinels, who have, I think, been getting better and better. So hats off to them, even though trying out new thirds and playing with Tech, who's the coach, and will ultimately be going back into that role, as we've heard. The fact that you have fights that are well orchestrated or a good intention, but they take too long, or maybe they're at the wrong time, or maybe they're just against the wrong team and should have been delayed, and then you have the third party come along. Part of my question is that what G2 and Sentinels, maybe teams on that bottom half who clearly have potential but aren't putting it together, is that part of why they're getting unlucky, Vicky, that they're taking these fights at the wrong time, or when they do take them, they're not finishing them fast enough?
That's what I'm thinking. It's just not quick enough, at least to the degree that they're expecting it to be, and they have to predict where the other squads were, depending on where they land for their POI and the rotation that they want to play, especially with a lot of these edge squads that we've been seeing, obviously working in favor for some comps versus others. So I was wondering, Optic Gaming playing on the edge doesn't really work out in that comp that they're now running here on World's Edge. It doesn't benefit edge play out here. So securing that building was definitely on top here, as Space Station also exit out of this lobby. Let's tune into a listening with 100 Thieves to plan out their next move in terms of their rotation with the Skyward Dive.
Right here.
Not letting me attach. There you go.
11 squads. People are dying. People are dying.
Yeah.
If that's what's
these
unavailable,
crates,
I'm gonna go
these
for the backside. I know,
Okay,
I
yep,
know.
yep.
No one's peeking it. No one's peeking it.
Diving
Team
it.
was-
I'm gonna Q
I'm
facing
on the
the house.
backside.
Yeah, me too.
Watch out, I'm genning here. Move, move, move!
I'm inside. I'm
Wait,
inside.
I can't gen here. I can't gen here. I gotta come to
inside
here and
the
gen. Yeah, give me a wall
People
here!
land. People land. Headshots at
Damn,
9.
dude. I just gotta get this down. We're gonna alt excel.
Yeah.
Remember, this backside's the safest spot.
Yep.
A lot of teams are gonna die here. Look at this. They're gonna have to walk
Look at the
out.
house. Look at the house.
42 flesh.
Caustic's fried! Caustic's cracked here! Look!
Are they fighting? We should wipe that if they're fighting.
Yes, look here! Full shield one.
41
Fuse on
flash.
this roof. They're inside. One's still inside here.
3 headshotted.
I headshot her again.
I think we could wipe this.
Slide up and wipe.
A left, stand left, stand left.
There's a knock. I got him. I got him. I got him.
One's still inside, I think.
There's a full
I
team
know.
in there.
Yes. I'm looking for nades. They're gonna EMP. They're gonna EMP. Can you destroy their gen?
Yeah, I did. I gotta back up. I'm getting charged.
Luck you on us. Kill me. Luck, kill me.
They're gonna swing. They're gonna swing. They're gonna swing.
Move it, Q!
I backed up.
Can't get knocked here.
I'm batting.
You should just
I
back
need to
up.
make it too. I'm
You
med
just back
kitting. I
up.
need
We're
to
gonna
make
lose
it.
our spot.
Fine, I'm backing up.
Back
There's a chance I get knocked here though.
Just heal. Just full heal.
You need to watch this side for me.
You gotta keep looking at this.
I think it's just one
now.
guy.
They ran out. No.
I need to get back.
Batting.
False flash. Right here.
Good
I
damage.
need to back here.
Yep, go for it.
I'm batting here as
Reset
well.
quad.
Good damage.
Absolutely huge here, Rain. When it comes to these comms that come in that are very desperate to hold this side of the circle, love the desperation. Gotta put my gen here. Gotta move over to the side. Try to get the follow-ups with these nades here too. As the Watson gen gets destroyed, we got 6 squads left in this lobby. We got CLG, NRG, 100 Thieves, Oxygen Esports, Team Liquid, and Team Smiley.
And NRG and maybe the spot that I would have wanted, except for the fact that they're in the middle of everyone. And so being in the spot that people want sometimes can be a good thing because, you know, it's a quality spot. The bad aspect of it is that people want it themselves. And so you're going to draw their attention. You're going to have to fend off 1-2 different teams from both sides. But if you shoot like that, and if you play like Fun FPS and Liquid are playing right now, it won't be a problem. You just got to hope that things don't go the wrong way too fast, that you give yourself a chance to adjust. 100 Thieves have given themselves plenty of chances to have things go wrong, but somehow it's gone right for them. Another kill coming out from 100 Thieves. So maybe the day that we were hoping they might have is upon us, but still 4 squads left. They've held on to this low ground. It is time to move as Liquid, NRG, and Oxygen Esports are the last remaining teams.
100 Thieves performing to the degree that we were expecting them to perform, just like Complexity in game number 1 here. This is one of those squads that needs to have an amazing day today as the mobile respawn gets called out from Oxygen to make up some extra cover. They're going to be forced to funnel out not only into the line of sight of Team Liquid, but in front of Energy and 100 Thieves. This is going to be such a difficult rotation outside of this building for Oxygen.
NRG, like I said, had to go through a little bit of the fires and the flames in order to keep this spot. 100 Thieves wanted it. We saw even Liquid have a chance at fighting NRG. All of that was rebuffed. NRG will hold it down. That is a very secure location. 100 Thieves now rotating out to the southwest of this zone, and it seems like Liquid and Oxygen Esports, Kubsky inside alongside Watson and Oi Senpai are holding down that building, and an EMP coming out trying to be a dastardly defense destroyer, and I think they've done just that. Team Liquid coming out and knowing that they have to get some KP, trying to hide behind these boxes so NRG can't get onto the fray, but 100 Thieves are here, and they've got the only shield available in this open seat of madness, Vicky.
The Jet coming out, though, helping them out, at least waiver off some of the extra pressure as Energy are looking to take game number 2. 3 squads left, and it's 100 Thieves pinched over by the Newcastle wall currently right now. Team Liquid still alive with fun, by the way, and Energy are looking to beam and delete what is left of 100 Thieves.
It's just NRG, Sweet, and the rest, Nathan and Gildersons, trying to make a point. We start slow, that's what you think. How about starting fast here in game number 2 with a win? NRG back on top.
You love to see it, right? You love to see the patience paying off for NRG. You could see that Guild was lighting up the kill feed, and they were also able to pressure 100 Thieves to go around to the side of the rocks in the line of sight of Oxygen and Team Liquid. Tiff, gotta ask you, as we bring you back in, what are your thoughts after that game two?
Look, I saw Complexity set up shop in the God spot, but I saw them set up shop a little bit too early. Then they get evicted and NRG starts holding that position. The double Watson fenced in. They did everything right to withstand the onslaught of pressure. And congrats on 100 Thieves for going the distance, but unable to justify and get a hold of NRG. But NRG starting off strong. Usually they're kind of a slow burn, right? Heating up in the 5th and 6th maps of a day, but starting off strong here in map number 2.
And that's all people have been asking for them. We know they can win games. They do it in game 5 and 6 more often than not, but can you do it in game 2? Can you do it in game 4 so that 5 and 6 aren't as much pressure for you and your fan base? And I feel like NRG starting off this way today means that things are clicking and they might have figured something out in this lobby. Vicky, though, when looking at the hardest route to get to that final circle, you know, Liquid and Oxygen Esports were actually already positioned there. Liquid did have to make that skyward dive up onto the high side of Geyser, and they did a good job kind of stabilizing there. But I feel like 100 Thieves, they had to do a lot just to be there. From the moment that they landed and they could barely put down the Watson generator, and they had to have a Newcastle wall just to get space for it.
But the fact that they were able to restabilize after listening to some intense comms and then also pressure out other teams that were funneled outside of the buildings of Geyser was a beautiful display of 100 Thieves and the way that they were able to handle that extra pressure. Playing behind the Newcastle wall also elaborates how 100 Thieves have been able to consistently make this comp work for them from the very beginning of the Pro League for year 3 here. And it's nice to see that Scurry has been able to play into that double taser comp between the Watson fences, the Gen, and the Newcastle wall.
Yeah, I mean, Tiff, you know, looking at those POVs, I thought it was clear you wanted to be NRG there, but, you know, Oxygen weren't in a bad spot. Neither were Liquid. They did have a lot of room to play with, but it was the EMP, and it clearly wasn't 100 Thieves where it came from, or NRG. It was the EMP, I believe, that was from, I would have to assume, Oxygen, that ended up kind of putting Liquid in a bad spot, forcing them to push out a little early, and then ultimately not really be able to place the way they wanted. But it was a great game too. I think it showed some consistent performances, and then also we got to see NRG pop off the way that we don't usually get to see.
Yeah, they're definitely doing what they need to do. I can't imagine an Apex Legends fan base not getting NRG in the Split 1 playoffs. So standing up to make their fans proud. But this is an interesting scenario here with Optic Gaming. Skittlecakes just going absolutely off, but unfortunately ending off a little sooner than I would have liked. I wish Dupe wouldn't have went down so early on because I feel like it would have changed the trajectory of Optic Gaming's map too.
Biggie, take me through what we saw here in these highlights as we kind of wrap up game number 2.
We saw that NRG was able to wrap up behind the Geyser area through Lava City and Big Mud and actually contested the bridge area to third-party G2 at the very end after they came out on top against the Luminosity fight. And I actually love what you highlighted in the comms about some of these teams that are taking these edge fights, whether they're taking too long for these rotations, too long for the fights, and what they can do differently here, because we even saw Sentinels at the very end before 100 Thieves took to the skies on the Skyward Dive actually contest Sentinels on the edge of the circle.
Slept on, getting some more points there. It's good to see them performing. And 100 Thieves, yeah, this is kind of the moment we were talking about for them. Nocturnal hitting a lot of beams. NRG showing presence. Liquid ultimately had a lot to deal with, and NRG were just better positioned. They had fought for that spot. I think it was the hardest spot to hold as this zone of round 5 closed. But once they held it, I thought they were in the God spot, the prime position. The EMP shortly came out right before that, and obviously you could tell that there was just a lot of, you know, intention to actually really aggress on them. I think they destroyed the EMP as it was getting pulled out. But what the difference is they had to put resources into that fight, and I think that's what hurt them. Oxygen obviously making sure that Liquid could not get the most out of that end game, but they did end up getting a lot of points. Look at that, 17 in second place. NRG 25 total points with a 13 kill win, and CLG rounding out the top 5 with 100 Thieves in third. Overall, a great showcase here, Tiff, and walk me through this top 10, even Rack Attack getting in there.
Yeah, really interesting. I feel like Oxygen Esports is having a pop-off day. Found themselves in the top 10 in map number 1 and within the top 5 in map number 2. But it's those preseason qualifier teams, Rack Attack, Team Smiley, Slept On, finding some success here. And it's so interesting to see NRG at the top of the leaderboard this early on and with 25-point game. You mentioned your threshold on an average game. You look to 5 to 7 points. When I look at a win, I want to see them north of 20 points.
Yeah.
Because now if NRG maybe has a little bit of a lackluster performance on map number 3, this 25 points should get them over that hump. We saw it happen with Fire Beavers and EMEA. They put down a 28-point game and it withstood them throughout multiple lackluster performances before they found their groove on Storm Point. So let's jump on over to the half. But the Guard in 11th. Oh no, not my team to watch.
Oh no, Vicky, not going well for them. Not going well for Space Station either, who did so well in game 1.
Yeah, Space Station, Optic too. I know a lot of people are sweating looking at them and what happened and what went down in that building, because we did tune into that fight for quite some time. Duplex caught outside the building and not too sure what the intention was there. Yeah, you got the dome that you put down, the Gibby bubble, but it was running out at the very end, got caught off guard. Luminosity also going down versus that fight versus G2 that got inevitably third party by NRG as we tune into the overall results after that second game. NRG on top with a nice 10-point gap between themselves and Team Liquid.
I mean, Optic only getting 2 points from that. I think that hold with 2 players is worth more than 2 points, Tiff, Biggie. I don't know. They put a lot of work into holding that little room, and I think that they deserve an extra point as a consolation prize. Optic clearly struggling there. MPS, CLG, they all got into the mix. It will be another opportunity for them to showcase themselves. But when you do see Complexity still ahead of SSG, it's not by as much as they want, but it's the right result for them moving forward. That was our winner of game number 1. Now NRG popping off, and I guess we have to start talking about it, Vicky. You know, does this mean NRG is about to be the NRG we know they can be? Does this mean we'll see more wins from them today? Does this mean that what people have been asking for the course of 10 playoff potential days, that in day 8, they're finally going to give it to us, a complete match day, and dominate the rest of the lobby? I certainly hope so. I'm sure a lot of people are excited to see what they can cook up here in our final game of Storm Point. Game 3 coming at you with Vicky Kitty and Spider Tip.
Thank you, Rain Day. Look, I said it would be difficult, but I didn't say it would be impossible out here for NRG Tiff, and they are now performing to the degree that we need to expect from them right now, because all eyes are on this team to make it into LAN. Of course, a bunch of fan favorites on this squad would be amazing to see perform in an offline tournament, but they need to perform today if they want that opportunity.
And they are doing just that with the performance. Now, with the zone pulling southern side on the last map of World's Edge, can we get an Optic W and satisfy those Optic fans at home? I know NRG fans are probably living in the moment just now, but Optic Gaming, I feel like we've got something to be desired, especially after watching that Dupe interview from a tournament yesterday. It was just really good to hear how they've been working on the changes. I know you've kind of touched base on that, Vicky, but I feel like things still haven't yet connected. But let's jump on board with NRG, your map 2 winners. And they're already looking pretty good. You got a little bit of a blue-purple Nathan probably crafting somewhere.
Probably by staging where NRG lands here too. With the split drops, it allows Sweet to not only pick up this great loot over on those side buildings by the beacon, but also get that next circle information that NRG are going to use to work with. So actually a squad landing right by Sweet's feet. Everybody ignore me, don't mind me. I'm just going to be going right back to the open arms of my squad mates over on the other side of staging. Pick that up for some information with the rest of the NRG squad waiting for Sweet to make his way over by the Harvester area. But NRG is one of these squads that like to rely on momentum, and when Sweet is feeling himself, you can absolutely tell with the way that they play with confidence. And this is a great way for NRG to start ramping up that confidence, that momentum, especially after that game 2 win.
Hey, well, that's exactly what I want to see. We love a confident Sweet and a confident NRG, but Space Station sitting in 4th place currently after 2 maps, making their way into the next zone. This team got 2nd place by 1 point on the 2nd showing of groups A versus C. So I'm excited to see what they can bring to the table thus far. Dropped. I've been watching a lot of their streams lately, and it's been rather fun to see how they navigate ranked play. And he's even been dropping, I believe, with Nick Merckx on tripods as well. A lot of these teams grinding ranked together on the off days of ALGS. So it's always fun when they start going up against each other.
Always enjoyable here too. Energy making the quick rotation after an intense last game here. They're looking to be able to capitalize off of getting into a better positioning, especially looking at the weapon loadout that Sweet is still rocking. He's got the charge rifle. He doesn't even need a sight on that. It's fine. Even without that replicator, sniper scope that's inside of that replicator, they got the Loba, they got the black market, and they got to scoop up maybe some of the extra loot that's left for them in Lava Side.
Look, I just want to see 100 rounds of ammo for this charge rifle, and I love that the secondary is the alternator. Not sure if he's going to change that out at any given point in time, but I just feel like I want to say, don't sleep on the alternator in general. I know the car obviously much better, but off drop, not a bad gun to find. CLG taking some pop shots at a nearby skyward dive, and you can see that's NRG probably in that black market right in front of them. CLG almost had such a good game in map number 2 before getting trapped inside the building with 100 Thieves looking directly at them. The moment 100 Thieves pushed up and started like inting on them with grenades, I was like, oh boy, it's over.
CLG, I love how you highlighted this team. This is a team, I believe they got 5th in the last game actually out here, and they were able to secure a 6K key as well. So Maba with that mini pop-off, CLG playing patiently from inside of that building. Dark Zero also able to get extra information. The EMP coming out from the crypto drone, taking in some cover and leaving the drone right above them before trying to figure out what they want to do to continue on this pressure. Because this is just going to farm Zero's shield right now, and they're just going to wait inside this building patiently, not give up that space to that team that's playing underneath them, especially looking at where the circle is going to be pulling.
I feel like this is one of those buildings that's incredibly challenging to hold, but luckily they do have the crypto and Watson to be able to make something happen there. Dark Zero, though, is still having a rather lackluster performance here thus far, and maybe they're going to be one of the slow burn teams that really ramps up throughout the later half of our series. But Oxygen Esports, currently sitting in 7th place, just outside the top 5, have been rather consistent here, and I like the name there, Watson Main. Very interesting. I love when teams get really fancy with like the Steam and the client, they can just rechange it up, but you know, it's fun.
I know Rambo and Monsoon are 2 fan favorites when it comes to stuff like that, all right? We won't touch up on too much of those details because they change up a lot, but I also love seeing the love that our legends out here also get. Oxygen Esports as well now making their move inside of this tunnel. They also have the information for where the circle is going to be pulling with the crypto right alongside them, and that beacon that's in the middle of Lava Siphon playing on the edge. So this early with this comp could also benefit them in securing the space inside of this tunnel side.
Yeah, this tunnel is so finicky, and you never know what's going to happen. It just takes one team decide to int on you. Dimmy gonna find the full onto IGL Albrelelli, leaving Slurp and Snipe down. So I could only imagine the comms that are going on in their wheelhouse right now. It might be a little frantic, but let's see what CLG can do here.
Patiently waiting on the high ground right now. No attachments on the Volt. Mamba just looking at the squad playing right underneath them. So many teams have already made the rotation into Lava Siphon side. And Nano takes a lot of damage. It's FaZe actually playing on the underside of this building. Snipe down falling incredibly low. Not able to reset as fast as he can here too, especially with sort of getting sent down.
Snipe down, nothing he can do, and FaZe going to be out of this lobby. CLG should have a rather clean reset. A lot of teams in the nearby vicinity, so it seems to be that the zone might be pulling down towards Lava Siphon and launch site. Just need to hit a couple more beacons to get that information. If the guard is nearby, could be a good indicator. I feel like the guard and complexity in this group are incredibly good at calling out those next zones. The issue is, don't want to set yourself up in God's spot too early. Incoming Seer Tactical to try to put a thorn in that revive, but still able to get Nano back on their feet. So hopefully they don't int in just yet. We're looking for a nice clean reset, and all seems to be well.
They can take a breather right now too, and also try to see which of the squads are on the outside. They set up the gen just in case as well to try to reset those shields and to negate any sort of damage that comes in from those grenades. And they're gonna have a lot of those death boxes to work with from FaZe over on the underside here too, with a lot of teams now making their rotation. I love how you highlight some of the squads that like to predict where the circle ends up pulling. I was thinking about Team Liquid being another one of those teams that actually call it out, as well as Energy. Sweet, usually always on point when it comes to predicting where those circles are going to be pulling. So with CLG just trying to restabilize right now, they note that there is a team that does have them in their sights, that have been able to take some shots at them. And we do see that the circle with the overhead map is going to continuously still pull towards the south side of Lava Siphon.
This is really interesting. We saw Team Liquid kind of play more edge in map number 1, and now they're just beginning their rotation out to the north side of Harvester. So arriving at this next zone rather late. 100 Thieves making their way through Lava Siphon, where Optic Gaming's just on the southern edge of. So first attempt all the way over in Geyser as well. But the collapsing of teams that are just all cohabitating in the buildings throughout Lava Siphon and launch site, we are in for an immense treat here in the mid-game scenario. But it's Complexity on your screen. Had the God spot early on in map number 2 before getting evicted by NRG. Had all eyes on them, and this is going to be a rather tough hold.
I like the call to at least hold this spot because they don't have the information of that next beacon, because there could have been a chance that the circle could have pulled more soul in the direction of the Geyser area. But Complexity could also take this opportunity to circle keep the squads that are going to be rotating out of Lava City, out of Big Mod, and away from the Geyser area. As the Skyward Dive gets unleashed right in front of Complexity, they're taking a roundabout way to avoid some of that pressure. You see Complexity still holding this side, not going to let loose of the other teams that they could circle keep.
That was a really peculiar Skyward Dive. I feel like they took in to rotate over them and then called it off and went further on the outskirts of the ring. I mean, look, I'd be scared of Complexity as well and not wanting to chow them thus early on, but you can see the incoming charge rifles nearly hit scan. One of my favorite weapons to kind of grief people with, because I would never say that I'm a charge rifle enjoyer just because, right? Yeah, I'm just here to be a menace.
And now I see what type of player Tiff is out here, all right? But it is about that W that you really want to take advantage of, and that's how Optic Gaming want to play too, because they desperately need it after what went down in that last game. Dupe splitting off a little bit here to try to take the high ground on the south side. This is actually a good spot. If there's no other squad in here, that means that they get this inner building for free, and there is that beacon that's right in front of them. Dupe could set down that dome and allow Nock to get that scan for that next circle, and this could allow Optic to plan their next move while avoiding getting caught in the fray for some of these other teams that have already taken the control on the inside of these buildings.
I mean, this is exactly what Optic needed. No early engagements. They need to make it a little bit further on, really anchor down utilizing Skittle Cakes on that caustic. The gas traps holding down this door so they'll know anyone tries to come in through their backside. The gas traps will go off, but now they just need to get that information. And you can see they've already got it. They're just on the outskirts where the two circles meet, but it's Team Liquid currently in second place, undergoing a little bit of a rolling thunder, but I think the gen was up so you could hear it eating essentially those rockets.
Oh, this is a fight happening on the other side of launch side. So this is also a fight that Optic Gaming are hearing go down. Team Liquid holding the choke point could negate the rotations from the other squads rotating away from Tree. I believe that's G2 that's actually rotating on that south side. And they did have a knock earlier on. I saw the charge rifle coming in the feed from NRG. So Team Liquid note that they have the number advantage, but they barely have any cover other than that rock to work with if they do want to approach this team.
Oh, I love this for G2. Backing off, trying to get Design back into the game because I believe this will be their only chance. The issue is, obviously, it's sending up the beacon of distress. Hey, we don't have the numbers available to us. And I feel like Team Liquid wants to really capitalize on this. The black hole going out, gonna Nocturnal forced to pay attention to that, which will save them a little bit of time for G2, but unfortunately, still not going to come out on top. There is one member of G2 running around out there. I think Design was able to get back in the game, thankfully. The question is, where is he? Was he able to find a weapon? And where is he hiding?
Sweet is griefing Liquid and G2. Like, they know he's being a pest right now. He's farming Evo shield damage, and Liquid just have to take it because they don't have the long-range weapons that currently NRG are utilizing. Believe they may be on the high ground platform by the south side of Lava Siphon, but it was a great prediction because if we could actually get a look at where this circle is going to be pulling right now, we note that half of launch site is in the area. The south side, on the southwest side of Lava Siphon, is also in that next circle, and it's not like Energy have to worry about being in the final circle position and being lacking in ammunition or any sort of extra equipment that they need to work with because they got the Loba on their team comp.
Yeah, speaking of Loba, it's really interesting to see Team Liquid come off the Loba. Nocturnal, I feel like, just really consistent with that, always having the black market available to them, but the guard, beautiful fencing. Love that by Keon right there. Just kind of hold up, waiting. As always, they're in the next zone, just the southwestern side of it, so doing a really good job. Currently sitting in 8th place, coming off some success here in Group A versus C. Would be one of the only teams, if they could find a match day win here, to get 3 for North America, and that would be nice to see. But no one been able to break the mold just yet, but can they do that under the leadership of RKN?
I do like this spot because they don't really have a choice playing on the underside of this launch site. We know that there was already a team that is actually in the building right on top of them. I believe it's MPS. And if the guard move away from this side and decide to try to contest MPS, that's just the green light for Optic Gaming on the other side of launch site by the beacon to just get involved with the third party, clean up 2 squads that are in the launch site area. So the guard holding steady, patiently underneath MPS is definitely the move for them to play in because they can also contest the teams that want to rotate on that other side of launch site. Doesn't look like Team Liquid's actually even going to rotate in that direction. Maybe seeing who the pesky charge rifle user is on the other side. Huge missile swarm and nice, huge grenade with the Arc Star. Despite those charge rifles still getting sent out and pressuring now Sentinels, Team Liquid know exactly where that squad is positioned.
Very interesting. We got a glimpse of the map, and I saw the last member of G2 be able to wrap all the way around to the north side of the zone. It's only a matter of time before they are found out in this scan-heavy meta. But Team Liquid, of course, fun on that charge rifle thanks to that 4x8 in the crafter. Meanwhile, first attempt going to be eliminated. Just really everyone out here doing the most to farm Evo shields for their team. It's not, you know, the flashiest of Jonas work, you know, Vicky.
Oh man, you know what? You gotta commend it for what it is. But I'm more so looking at where this circle was pulling, and this is not the best being on this side here if you're Team Liquid, if you're Energy playing still on this side here too, Sentinel, CLG, because half the circle is literally taking up that rock that is right behind Team Liquid. Ooh. And this is gonna benefit more squads that are actually in the launch site area with little to no cover to play off that middle area of that POI.
This is really interesting. Now I'm loving the positioning from Complexity. The question is, can they hold on to it? They seem to find themselves in some really nice moments, but a big win by Optic Gaming against Dark Zero off screen.
Wow.
You love to see that, Vicky, especially with that being your team to watch. Finally finding some momentum here. They find that open building. They make their way into the end game ring. The question is, what's going to happen next for them? They just need to be able to anchor it down as Complexity also moving forward, and Team Liquid on edge. Very interesting, just firing down into the team in front of them, trying to find some eliminations, but able to hold on second place thus far.
There's a lot going. That was a renegade black hole coming out of the skies. Diverted to play. No, it's the Horizon coming in at the feet of Sykes. Team Liquid have the advantage right now, and they have the intel with the Seer exhibition currently. They're going to be able to rain down even more of this pressure, playing off the high ground here without any other squad trying to stop them from doing this right now. I do believe that Sentinel's playing off the low ground, and Energy are right behind Team Liquid. They wrapped around them. Are you kidding me? What a counter rotate to catch Liquid off guard.
Look, NRG woke up today and came into match day 8 with vengeance. Your current first place team looking to clean up Team Liquid and just go on a tear. Now they found themselves even more eliminations throughout this with 10 squads remaining. All of the lobby collapsing. G2 is out. Oxygen Esports is out. The question is, what's next for NRG and Sweet as they continue on the domination?
Let's jump into listening with energy because they see where the circle is going to be pulling and there's a squad right in front of them. Let's see what their next moves are going to be.
Fighting.
Yeah. I mean, they're just here around the corner. I have a good head glitch right here on me. Their gen's right here. I'm breaking their gen.
Okay.
I broke their gen. I don't know if they're still here. I think they're up above the height, on the height.
Can we peek behind them?
Yeah, they're on the height. They're on the height. They're in like an
really
uncomfortable spot.
Okay.
You're Valkhold?
Yes, I will need. I will need one.
Then I need to give you my only one. I will not have gem. Unless there's one
there's lethal level. There's probably some in here. Yeah, there's 4. Grab 2 of them. And then listen, I need someone to look at the skull piercer and the wingman mag.
Here, grab the ultic cell and pop it right now. Pop the ultic cell.
Oh, you want me to ultic cell for another level?
I mean, yeah, low key.
What do you want? I can grab one thing.
Mag, wingman mag, any wingman mag.
There's no.
Blue mag.
Yeah.
Okay. Valcolting is like, what's the best Valcolt here? I don't even know. Did he make it over this, right? Yeah, on top of this truck. Okay, we're landing here on the flat part, and we're just oobing below us, okay? Same thing as last game.
Alright, I'm ready.
We're waiting a second.
Yeah.
We're on south side. They're doing it. They're popping into the exact.
I'll take damage to storm.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just watching the gas.
Okay. I'm sticking on you.
Right here, right on this corner,
right,
straight down. Right on this corner, straight down. Right here on me, waiting. Okay, jump down straight left. On the back
On the
left.
gen. 3 deep. Knock one.
Lots of one. Oh,
Oh, man.
That's impossible. That's impossible. No. Okay.
That was valiant.
Oh my, you have to give it to energy for trying to go in for such an insane play at the very end there, and still costs complexity at the end too. And what an insane skyward dive. They had no other choice. Optic Gaming still alive. NPS still inside the same building right now. The guard playing on the high ground with Optic playing on the low ground means that they're in the line of sight of 100 Thieves over to the side, Tiff.
This is chaos. Let me just tell you, you know complexity is absolutely furious, but NRG had no other choice. So you know who's got the advantage. It's going to be 100 Thieves biding their time out on the outskirts. Scurry falling as well, but Onmu and Vaxlon cleaning up shop for them. Your new kill leaders of the lobby. Gold knockdown, but who comes down? They want a piece of that. We know the guard was on the high ground, and they have jumped down trying to finish them off, but 2 members are down. Keon, last stand in the fight.
Oh, trying to go off to the side right now, playing up the gold knockdown. He has the opportunity. He's got the advantage right now. He's got to play on the outside of the circle, but it's too much pressure from the guard here over to the side. NPS now making their appearance with the RE45 and nobody else left from the guard. NPS come out on top for this game number 3.
What just happened? Talk about all of the chaos, and it started with one Valk ult, Vicky, and I was really excited that we got to hear the comms led by Sweet and his team because they were cool, calm, collected, timed it perfectly, Rain Day, but I mean, we were just sitting there like, flip a coin.
So were they. It felt like NRG, when they flew up, knew that there was a lot waiting for them, didn't know exactly what was waiting for them, and then got very, very aggressive onto a team that needed them to just leave them alone. Complexity trying to do so much in this lobby today. NRG plays spoiler to them. Complexity, though, kudos. They win that fight. They make those trades, and they actually keep 2 alive, but it's just not enough with the ensuing fight that was occurring to stay relevant and to keep themselves safe. So ends up meaning both of them go down. That brings the entire lobby back to being wide open, Vicky. And then NPS, after Keon and the guard drop, after 100 Thieves drop as well, end up cleaning up what happened on the low ground. And it was just madness, literally from beginning to end.
They called out that circle though. We talked about it already. Not only did the guard have to play off the low ground from that launch side area, but they played inside that building from the very beginning. Optic saw them in their sights. Optic knew where the circle was going to be pulling because they had the beacon right there that they played off of the south side of that POI. But NPS needed that desperately because you highlighted at the very beginning of the pre-show, this is a team that's also on the cusp of not making it into land. They've had their pop-off moments, but it's about that consistency that was put into question. Before that game, they were sitting in 19th overall after the last 2 games. So taking this dub is going to allow them to skyrocket in the overall leaderboards.
Did your confidence increase looking at the guard? They were your pick today, Tiff. And so how, looking at game 3 and what we've seen in World's Edge, has that either given you more confidence, kept you where you started, or lessened it in terms of what they're going to do today?
I think they've been relatively consistent, which is something we've seen out of the guard across a multitude of tournaments throughout the midweek during ALGS as well. So I'm not worried in any way, shape, or form. That end game was absolutely chaotic, and the fact that MPS was able to come out on top is kind of crazy. Because I thought it was going to be 100 Thieves just biding their time over on the outskirts of that zone, because we were talking about that. You had Space Station in front of them, NRG trying to get into the zone, and it was kind of like, what is 100 Thieves going to do? Will they make a move? But alas, chaos everywhere.
All right, Vicky, help walk me through these highlights of game number 3. Our last game on World's Edge, it was a fight from beginning to end, as we have said, and it turned into chaos, rather, at the very last moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, FaZe right now, I feel like when I think about FaZe, I'm expecting like a heavy fragging team out here, because this patient play with the Crypto and Watson is just not really working out for this squad. I feel like they unfortunately fell down really early. We saw G2 in another fight where, surprise, surprise, gets third-partied out here. Team Liquid got involved. They were pressured out by the charge rifle. I believe it was Sweet behind the rock. There was another charge rifle that was also trying to take their turn into pressuring out Team Liquid. They had the high ground, but was extra nice to see. The cherry on top to this performance was not just the confidence from Team Liquid feeling like they were on top of the world, literally on top of that high ground, but it was not expecting NRG to counter-rotate behind them through tree before the circle closed in to then clean them up at the very end of that fight.
I mean, you weren't a fan of the charge rifle, Vicky. Tiff, do you have any disagreement with it? I mean, it worked out for them. NRG, this skyward dive is the moment they went down, but they did everything they needed to do. They're on a great day so far after 3.
I have no complaints about the charge rifle when it's in my hands or a team that I'm
well said.
Rooting for. But if it's coming up against me and it's like basically chalking some of my fights, yeah, then I'm gonna have an issue with the charge rifle. So for the teams that are utilizing it properly, you typically see Rambo on the charge rifle, Fun from Team Liquid on the charge rifle, but Sweet on the charge rifle being a menace. Look, if it's resulting in them having a good day, I'm all about it.
And speaking of a good day, MPS needed one, or at least they wanted one, holding on to the last spot after qualifying for LAN, but desperately also knowing that this is, I believe, their last day. It is their last day to play and get as many points as possible. So having a win there, heading into Storm Point, that is huge for their potential. Optic Gaming, the Guard, 100 Thieves, Space Station, all in our top 5, getting points for the day, as well as Complexity and NRG, 7th, but still having 10 points. Now, on the back half of things, Tiff, Liquid, even in 13th place, continually getting those 5 to 7 point games, staying in the mix.
You just got to stay consistent. Consistency is key in how you find yourself geared up and ready to go to Split 1 playoffs. You cannot have a roller coaster of points throughout these match days. It just needs to reign consistent. And Team Liquid is probably the definition of consistency if you look it up in a dictionary. I haven't seen a dictionary in a while, so not gonna open it up, but that's what I have to say. And coming on over to the series results thus far, you said NRG, well, they're on top by 10 points just after 3 maps.
And it's really surprising to see how well that they performed so early. This is very atypical of them, but it's a team that's been working on themselves and trying to get better each and every time. Complexity ahead of Space Station. This is how they started. They were 1 point ahead of each other in game 1, as it was those two fighting for supremacy. Liquid haven't won a game, but they've been around each and every moment. And you can see that's what consistency does to you. Not only does it keep you in the mix, it actually puts you in 3rd place right there. The Guard shortly behind MPS in 7th place. To be fair, if MPS want to secure a spot at LAN, they will probably need a top 3 today, or maybe even higher. So a lot of work yet to be done. Dark Zero in an interesting 20th place. Would not have expected that, but look at this. Oh, NRG up on top, Vicky. They bring 2. Gildersons and Sweet, the newest addition, taking the #1 spot. And speaking of NRG, they are our team that we'll be focusing on after their performance. Vicky?
How many of those 8 KP from Sweet do you think came from that charge rifle? No, I'm just joking. But looking at the way that Energy have been able to pop off, you talk about consistency. Well, today, better late than never. They must have gotten the invite just a little late here. Nate been popping off. You highlighted Guild out here, the young legend that has been able to also allow Energy to come on top when it comes to some of these early fights, but also finishing these fights in a timely manner. I like the way that they've been able to also kind of go around these longer rotations, because the call to take these longer rotations has actually allowed them to get better positioning for the final circle than it has been for the squads that have rotated early into the final circle position.
Yeah, Tiff, they've been excellent so far today.
I mean, nothing shy of excellent, but I don't feel like Sweet's ever going to be happy until he gets a LAN victory. And what better way to start it than sealing your ticket to the regional final to get a chance to vie for Split 1 playoffs. And they're just doing everything right today, but I feel like I don't want to say anything in particular just yet because I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like NRG fans have to be impressed right now.
I think NRG fans are very, very happy. It's a wake-up call a little bit earlier. It's that Monday morning that you get that 5:30 a.m. alarm instead of 6:30, and you go, whoa, this feels different. But hey, you get an extra hour, so it ends up being a good thing. NRG now have an extra 3 games where they're not trying to get into it. They're on top. Can they keep it up? We'll find out in just a minute. Going to go to break. We'll be right back with game number 4 on Stormpoint.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ALGS. It's day 8 out of 10, and the 10th is our regional final. So really, day 8 out of 9 in order to get yourself into it. Day 9 if you're Group A, meaning that this is your last day to play before you have a chance to be in the regional final. And those teams certainly know it. We've seen a huge performance on the books for NRG so far. We've also seen a team, MPS, that we highlighted earlier that is needing to come forward with a better performance than 7th. Although that's good, may not be good enough to hold their spot at LAN right now. Let's bring back Tiff and talk a little bit about it. As we head into Stormpoint, we see shifts across the board, Spider Tiff. It ends up being that legend compositions change, but also styles and usually momentum changes. That's the thing that players and viewers need to understand. It is hard to keep steamrolling, especially if you start off so well in World's Edge and still do that in Stormpoint. Why is that?
I mean, they're just 2 totally different maps with different play styles. Stormpoint, you've got all the topography, the up-down area, just so much height on the map. The POIs are more spread out, so you have those longer open rotations. So if you're a charge rifle or enjoyer, this is the time to shine, and we've seen a plethora of them on World's Edge, so you know it's going to reign supreme on Stormpoint. But you mentioned it, a lot of these legend compositions, it's been really challenging for some of these teams to find their strides. And yeah, it's only Pro League Split 1, so I'd imagine come Split 2, hopefully a lot of these teams will have found their way. But Complexity, NRG, MPS, finding some success on World's Edge thus far. The question is, coming on over to Stormpoint, will we get some double winners here?
Well, that's what I think is a great thing to start talking about for LAN, because Ascend, when they won 4 games out of 6, the team that's already qualified for LAN, what does that actually mean for them? It means that they would have had to have won at least 1 game on World's Edge and at least 1 game on Stormpoint. They won multiple, but the point is you have to win on both maps. And when we get to match point and we get to LAN, you're swapping maps multiple times. You're going maybe 2 or 3 on Stormpoint, then 2 or 3 on World's Edge. And so you might be in a match point format, then you switch to your worst map, or you switch to another map even after you pass the threshold. And we saw teams then slow their roll, stop whatever they had going for them and go, wow, now I need to wait 3 maps to get back on the World's Edge to have a chance to win. You can't really be a complete team in that way, Tiff. And so Optic Gaming know it. You watched the interview with Duplex a little bit. We chatted a little bit about this. They've decided that even though that classic Optic style of Caustic and Gibraltar were working well for them on World's Edge, they're thinking they need to switch it up to Bangalore Bloodhound to be successful and play Edge here on Stormpoint. I wonder if we'll see that from them in action today.
Honestly, I hope so. If they're feeling confident, then that is over half of the battle. You hear it in all of the interviews. When we talk to these teams, they're just like, look, we feel like these are the legends that we can excel on. And I feel like if you are comfortable with the legend that you're on, it shouldn't matter what abilities they have at the end of it. We all know their aim is incredibly strong. So you see Aurora, Anamia breaking out the Wraith when they feel comfortable with, and they found a lot of success with that, but you don't really see Wraiths anymore. But as we jump on over to our first map of Stormpoint, I'm looking for any 50-50s that might catch my eye, but so many people jumping around Cascades, Command Center, Dark Zero just on the outskirts in kind of the Stormcatcher POI. So we could see some early mid-game fights.
And one of the things we don't see that has encouraged Optic to change, just jumping back to that point, great conversation that you added there around some of the legend diversity. I want to go back to that in a moment, but why Optic Gaming has decided that we need to play Edge? Well, they said we don't get a lot of mill circles. It's not as worse, as bad as, Lightning Rod. We do see some mill. We do see a lot of downed beasts. So it's not that we don't have circles in that area, but they felt that they were forced to play a lot of Edge, and their composition just wasn't working that way. The distance of the map just wasn't allowing them to rotate and play how they like. They're a team that does like to sit in God spot. They like to get into the best spots. They know the best spots. Skittlecakes actually touted himself as the person who puts the most work out of any other person in Apex Legends into knowing the perfect placements to play, even the perfect gas canister placements. It is no joke. And honestly, the way that they handled that 2v3 against CLG and then MPS, I actually do believe him. We've seen it in action. But it is still one of those things that can make or break your game. And so being more flexible, we're seeing teams take that on in Stormpoint. And the guard here sticking with a version of defense, but the flexibility of the crypto on RKN. I love that choice. And I just think teams, are challenging themselves to be more inventive, saying, the meta has shifted and we have to keep shifting with it.
I feel like if you can shift and be flexible and adaptable and play a multitude of legends, you essentially up your Apex stocks, right? You're more viable, you're more valuable. Complexity finding some early KP onto a team that is skirmished away. I believe they were only able to grab one, but have found themselves in 3rd overall. And that's just half the battle, right? I feel like teams that can make a play. We saw a lot of teams midweek once again toying with Catalyst. Not too many here in the lobby, if any. I know FaZe at one point, I think it was Alberlelli trying to play Catalyst. We saw Hal, TSM's not playing today, but was also messing around with Catalyst before putting Verholst onto Catalyst. I'm curious to see on their next match day if Catalyst comes out, but I feel like they're still trying to find how they can utilize that package that Catalyst has to offer. But Complexity, this composition that they have, we've seen it work. HEC utilizes it, the guard utilizes it. It's just proven to be nice with Shiny on crypto, able to get the beacon information, able to hold tight and bully the team in front of them, hop in the drone, see what's going on.
Have a little bit of fun, sightsee in more ways than one, capture some footage, upload it to the cloud, Show your family when you get back home. You know, Crypto's drone does a lot of things. Also gets banners. Also destroys team fights. Complexity, though, using the Mastiffs instead. Shiny on the Crypto. And it's Lux, who is hitting some great shots. Just going to put that slow but sure, steady generator, which is going to give them shielding bit by bit, and also going to protect them from any ordinances that would flush them out of holding the zone. Unfortunately, though, there's another team involved. And now Lux has to be very, very careful. They're going to hide by this window and hope that team doesn't try to peek. I think, in fact, they may have to say it's time for us to go, and it's Space Station who fall, and this is not good for Space Station. This is fantastic for Complexity, though. The second time that they've taken them down, but the team that is closest to them in the standings that might overtake them for land since they have one more game, one more day to play. Big moment from Complexity, but they've got to hold here for it to be worth it.
Yeah, but they already used the Jenny, so they're not going to be able to place one inside, which means the influx of grenades coming in are going to be rather damaging. Getting a nice little reset here, going to have to try and fence up to the best of their abilities to withstand any push towards the inside, but they're going to need, they have the banner. They need to fend off this team. You can see one's down over there, and we get a little gist through the wall. It looks like they're trying to almost hoist themselves up. Rez coming in. Would be a good time to push, though.
Wow. Look at this. Lux, obviously, Rambo going down. They haven't been able to stop any of this. Shiny is peeking outside, getting very aggressive still. Complexity, it's a very important fight for them. MPS, though, we'll switch over with them for now. Pow, Madness, and Shubi, a team that are in a very similar position, just several points away in terms of the leaderboards for LAN. The big tournament that everyone wants to make, where all the prizing is, where all the storylines converge. It would be massive for them to make it. And this is their last chance to put as many points on the board as they can. Currently sitting in 7th. The guard right in front of them in 6th. The team that has been fighting Complexity, and they've completely lost Rambo. And so now RKN, Keon. We know they can fight. We know Keon, he's got a beam on him, Tiffany, and knows how to use it.
Ooh, I was gonna say that's really interesting. We've seen plays with teams that will steal another team's, essentially their fence pylon, and make a fence out of an enemy team's, which will essentially make that your fence and work for you if you can grab that. But Complexity just essentially destroying every fence that the guard puts up. And with so many teams already making their rotation into that next zone, which is heading towards where Complexity and the guard are, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get Rambo up. So now they're forced to take the fight. Keon falls. RKN not far behind him, and well done by Complexity.
Look at this with the wins right there on Space Station and on the guard. They take down not only 2 huge point getters in this lobby, but they stay alive, meaning they have a chance, if they can get Monsoon back as a 3, to really increase the distance from Space Station, to really put themselves ahead and try to just hang on, try to just push themselves towards that guaranteed land spot. What a massive turn of events for Complexity. And if things end up going their way today, you can look at that moment right there that just happened, Tiff, and say that was one of the biggest reasons why. Luminosity here also maybe in trouble, as Yanya trying to hit that med kit. Smoke all around them as Jaguares shielding them from any outer vision and giving Niazul a chance to do some scouting and hold down one of their back buildings, hitting a ultimate accelerant here to try to get that beast of the hunt back up and ready.
They're doing rather well here today. They're probably not happy with the 10th place overall thus far, but jumping on over to Storm Point, we them have a lot of their best moments here, and they're holding that southeastern side of the zone. Their back is clear towards the launch pad side, so they're probably not worried thus far. They can really anchor down, but it's 100 Thieves who's got an interesting LOS on a member joining back in, but they're not going to fully int on that, and I respect that. Currently sitting in 2nd place and just trying to hold out in this area of the map. They're getting a lot of information on the teams, and I believe they're looking down the barrel on Luminosity, where if the ring pulls Rain Day, they're going to have to feed out of that building and right into the loving arms of 100 Thieves.
And the good thing about 100 Thieves is they could play areas like this better than most teams because they've committed to the Newcastle. They haven't changed their lineup. It's one of the reasons why I think consistency-wise in the last championship that we had in Raleigh, North Carolina at the PNC Arena, that 100 Thieves were able to get top 5. They didn't have any flashy moments. They didn't win many games. They might have won one, but it certainly wasn't the match point. That would, of course, go to Dark Zero, with Furia getting the most points in the tournament by far, taking second place. But it was because of the fact that this lineup doesn't change, Tiff, that I think there's an advantage to that. You have the ability to go into World's Edge and Stormpoint without character swapping, without strategy swapping. You know what works for your lineup, and you know what works for each map. And I think it takes a lot of the guessing game out of it and allows them to be one of our top performers on the day, even if they don't have some of those pop-off games, which we can see with a Bangalore and Bloodhound Valkyrie adjustment could happen with how aggressive those legends are, but it gives them more stability.
Forget that.
More stability, yeah. Coming in 14th place overall for the series thus far is going to be 100 Thieves with 55 points. Rather interesting because they are coming from Group C, who still has that match day in hand, but slept on. 8th place overall with 19 points, taking to the sky, trying to get into Launchpad. Wonder if they're gonna just try to take a different approach into the rotation. I know there's some teams in a nearby vicinity that'll probably be running into each other as they make their rotation out from the northern side, the zone throughout Stormcatcher.
G2 making their southern approach as well. Tiff is Dark Zero, most notably in the bottom 3 heading into Stormpoint. A team that has been very much consistent in many ways, consistently not winning. That's something that we would have expected from the back-to-back LAN winners. They haven't been winning days. They have been good, though. They have ultimately placed very high and secured themselves within the top 10. They're one of the teams that it almost feels like they would have to do a lot wrong to not make LAN based on where they're sitting in the overall leaderboards. But still, even though they're 4th, we expect more from them. That's obviously the burden you have to carry if you do so well when you go to LAN and become superstars. But I'm sure Dark Zero expecting more from their online performances, and as Split 1 ends and Split 2 begins later on next year, I'm sure you'll see them continually trying to work on those things to be a more complete team. Find themselves up in the north. The only team behind them now, though, is NRG. As we look at Sentinels, Tiff, we're up on a very dangerous spot. They are by themselves, though, but slept on G2 nearby.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. You saw Dark Zero punching their teammate into the next ring, but they're rather uncontested where they currently are. I feel like Dark Zero needs to mix their hard work with a little bit of luck, and they'll have a good ending. But Sentinels as well, wanting to find success. We've seen a lot of the composition that they've been toying with, and they've played Ashe more recently on Stormpoint with Crypto. So the Seer Horizon Valk, going back to something that we've seen a lot of teams standardize, and I'm not sure how it's playing out for them thus far. They're currently sitting in 20th place for the day, 5 points overall, but 17 squads remaining here. So they could turn the tides here in map number 4 and find more success on Stormpoint.
One thing we mentioned that I want to foreshadow here is the team that they're fighting right now is G2, and they already take down Chaotic. It may not even be worth discussing because G2 are just fighting for their lives, already halfway down. One more wingman shot will do it. It's Resulta falling. It's Tech and Sinnox falling as well. Don't tell me Design. He is. He's going to kill all 3. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Designful loses 2 teammates and takes down all of Sentinels by himself.
I mean, putting in the work, having the gold knockdown for the ability to reset. This is what they needed. Now, as long as they can withstand any impeding third party, I think this will be a good game for G2. And with that gold knockdown coming in clutch, spawning back into the game after a fresh res with half health, half shields, now turning their attention on to Slept On, that is trying to capitalize on the situation.
My goodness. Design just ain't missing today. Isn't that the case? Oh my gosh, with a car and a wingman, if you do hit headshots, 4 kills for Designful in just 1 minute. And not only that, saving G2 when I was going to bring up the fact that they get into these third-party skirmishes early game more so than almost any other team I've seen besides Sentinels, Tiff. And look at that, it's G2 and Sentinels getting in that fight against one another. And I guess G2 may be better at it than Sentinels in this instance, but this is maybe the Achilles heel of this squad. Fighting too early, fighting too many teams in too inopportune a time or situation. But yes, there's always the chance for a little bit of magic to make anything that you've done bad go away. And that's certainly what Design just did there, a masterclass. And one of the reasons why you know his name.
Ooh, coming on over to Dark Zero. Looks like they're in the skirmish that G2 was potentially looking at. They were already destroyed, an enemy seer exhibit, and Zero does have the Digi-Threat on the wingman to help couple that alongside Bangalore, who's played by Sharky. Oxygen Esports going to fall. Rack Attack going to fall. So a lot of teams going out here, and Dark Zero finding some eliminations, not necessarily as many as they would probably have liked, but now nestled up to the left side of the ring with 2 more teams looking down upon them. The question is, how is Dark Zero going to manage this rotation with FaZe inside that building? They need to get a good LOS, but it's rather open. They could get over towards that gravity cannon, but MPS in a little bit of a scuffle themselves, Rain.
They do need to make sure this scuffle doesn't turn into something more. Maybe you need to call it quits. Go home, say, hey, it's not worth it. I don't want anything. I don't want any trouble. You just go on your merry way. MPS, they need to survive. They need the big points. They need the win. They need the 3rd place and the kills. Getting caught here feels risky, but they do have a Newcastle wall inside to play around, and Pow Pow already has another one as an ultimate in case things need to shift. One of the things that they're doing so well with this lineup at MPS is rocking that low, but the Black Market Boutique in these moments where they're holding buildings now consistently, they haven't shifted much. But what they do is, because of all the fighting and skirmishing happening around them, that black market gives them access to everyone's loot. Those red shield swaps, once somebody goes down, can be theirs. And I'm sure as an experienced team, they'll be looking for that. When they see the downs, they'll hit that black market boutique if they can, try to get any of the most valuable loot and drop them here, because it's first come, first serve in terms of who gets to have that. It doesn't just stick in the box. MPS will be very, very aware of that, and 13 squads left, round 4 about to close. They'll be okay in this next circle.
Speaking of okay, Complexity was able to get their 3rd back up, fully kitted out. They're in the center of zone, looking to share the same building of NRG, so they do have some neighbors, but the question is, I'm just loving this because every time Complexity gets themselves into a god spot, there's a team that looks to make a play for it. But thus far, they've been able to utilize those Watson fences, grab the shiny on the crypto to go out, get all the information necessary for them. And they've fended off every charge that has been made for this building. I know it's really interesting to see, but MPS, we just checked in with them, and it looks like Dark Zero was trying to make a play for the building that they had with Shubi on that RE45. Man, it's so weird to see Shubi as Valk. You know, one of the last Bangalore mains previously on that Blackhand team before answering the call to jump into the Pro League with the now MPS team. We've seen some crazy work with Shubi on a bang, but it's nice to see a little bit of change of pace, and they've been finding some good moments here so far today.
Well, 100 Thieves goes down throughout the chaos. Vaxlon, Onmu, and Scurry will fall. As you mentioned, their consistency, it's not the result they were hoping for in game number 4, but it is still promising that they were in the top 8. That's kind of the rub with that lineup. You're not necessarily going to have those pop-off games unless you really do claim that best spot. And if not, you're going to be a lot of defense, not as much offense. That's Newcastle Watson for you. But Newcastle, Crypto, you still have the defensive utility. You still have the banner retrieval. You still have the pressure and the information. But that EMP can simply turn a team fight. G2 as well. We saw Designful pop off. Chaotic Much has a kill to himself now, as it's 5 for G2 and 19 points as they climb into the top 10. Let's listen in as they take on another team right in front of them here, and maybe, just maybe, put on a miracle again.
You want knock? I'm playing knock.
Nice.
One more.
Horizon one.
Got it. Good shit.
I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it.
We're gonna have to find something. That's in. We gotta slide down. Alright. We gotta slide down. We have to do it now. 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 Get down. Get down on this fence on me. I'm here.
Yes.
I'm good.
I'm just.
Again. Get over here. I'm gonna go back, Resum. Block this. Block that. You got
Man. 14 left. I'm gonna knockdown. 0 knockdown.
Scanning. I'm taking his armor slot. Alright, bet. 10 seconds on smoke. I'm shot in the back. Inside the pills. Dead.
If I get 5th base or something.
Trying to crawl too. What are they doing? Why?
And they can't have the magic repeat itself. It's G2 eliminated and NRG off the back of that one as well. Go down into our top 4 now, Tiff. It's just first attempt alongside Team Liquid. MPS and Complexity still alive.
Wow, this is very interesting. Complexity able to get that 3rd back up and now going the distance, making it into top 4 now with the building that is in ring, able to have a lot of presence in Team Liquid just on the outskirts of this fence. The question is, who is going to take all of the LOS? I'm loving the positioning of MPS. If they can just hold onto that building for as long as possible, or maybe deter and tear their information away, grab some eliminations on to first attempt, knowing they have numbers advantage, the health advantage as well. But it's Complexity that's really toying with Team Liquid. So we could have 2 isolated fights here.
I'd like to see someone from Complexity go to the high ground, get out, go up. Maybe some of these rotations have a little bit of coverage. It's going to expose them, but it's also going to put pressure on the Liquid who are just waiting for them to come out of that door. That's why the missile swarm was there. They expected that if they were going to make the move, they would do it then. Now it looks like they're not, and so they're becoming very predictable, but it's also meaning that first attempt is probably going to have to strike first, and that is isolating Liquid into a 3v2 with MPS and Complexity, 2 teams who need to survive, maybe looking to fight each other. Liquid's the one that you want to go out if you are the 3 teams alive, and it looks like first attempt is going to do a good job of disabling Liquid's potential to win this ultimate fight. Another EMP coming out, and Complexity have a chance to make something out of nothing. There's a castle wall already from MPS, and they are biding their time, hiding behind the blocks as long as they can. No one wants to step a foot out in front because they know what's coming for them. It's fingers on the trigger and all of the sight lines straight onto you. Just trying to hide behind a wall, a block, a post. And guess what? MPS says, no, we're fine shooting. We'll find the damage. We don't need to hide at all. And Shubi with the RE45, only 23 bullets, only 4 now added with the 6 in the magazine, is going to try to do it for MPS, and they will win. What a win. They need that type of performance, and they got it in game 4.
Shubi, one of the best pickups that you could possibly imagine, bringing them up from that former team Blackhand to play on MPS. Now your first team to find back-to-back victories here in match day 8, and it was the coupling, that RE45 with the car SMG. Vicky, I'm just sitting here like, what just happened?
Shubity doop, that's what happened. He came through with the RE45 and he popped up, and you talk about FPS needed to perform. Well, they were tied with ESA, who isn't playing today in the overall standings, and taking 2 dubs back to back with what was that, 8, 9 KP, 10 KP to their name at the end of that game. They were able to clean up shop to make sure that they are absolutely punching their ticket to lane.
And that is crazy because we have seen this team get put together and struggle from being a part of a Renegades roster to being the old CLG to having a lot of success and then losing a player early this split, gaining another player in Shubi, who you highlighted, Tiff, who was a Bangalore player, switching off onto the Valkyrie, taking a different role, and Madison Pow Pow finally, maybe just putting it together and showing up at LAN with something to prove. This was the game they needed, though, ladies, as we kind of look at their performance back to back, but not just that. It's the execution of that team fight, the castle wall early, the resistance to pushing out and taking a fight, even though there was a duo first attempt right next to them. I think all of the decision making that they're doing, Tiff, it showed that they're a team that is really ready to be turning on the heat and being a top performer.
Yeah, it was really interesting when Team Liquid took that isolated fight against the duo in first attempt. They were able to utilize the fences that were naturally there for cover to reset, but I don't think they were taking into account that Shubi had that RE485 and an absolute menacing gunny on him, because I mean, we know just how talented Shubi is, but holy, the pop-off, just, I need to go back and rewatch that a multitude of times. Like, I am impressed.
Yeah, it was great, Vicky. And you know what? It's Complexity, too, who was in that final circle, who also needed the kills. Space Station went down early, so did the guard. Liquid may be a thorn in their side, a team they definitely do want to catch up and is taking points away from them at the top so they can get that big day. But still, Complexity having a nice performance there to make it in the top 3.
Yeah, and out of those last 4 remaining teams between First Attempt, MPS, and Liquid, this was the only squad that actually had a crypto up and alive that could have started that engagement for them. So the fact that they still played patiently, they still won that building on that south side of that area is actually going to allow them to at least keep themselves consistent alongside Team Liquid. But Team Liquid, they always predict where these circles are going to be pulling, and they try to hold that side of the fence where they can stay out of getting pinched. But that squad that tried to contest them was what basically was a thorn in their side.
Well, they say necessity is the mother of invention. Certainly, 2 teams trying to reinvent themselves in the landscape of the Pro League have not been getting the headlines. Complexity and MPS, a great performance from them. But Sentinels and G2, I mean, I think Designful had maybe the most important moment here, taking down not 1, not 2, but all 3 members of Sentinels, Tiff, by himself. We thought they might be putting something together, and they did get a lot of points this game.
Yeah, I was really hoping for them to find a stroke of luck, maybe a team not third-party them absolutely immediately, but still showing strong, the reset coming in with the gold knockdown and just chaos everywhere. It seems like that is the theme for today, and taking on G2 once again, this fight, the clutch by Chaotic right here, and very nicely done. Digi-Threat goes hand in hand, but Sykes looks to have been also having an RE485, but this is right here. The time that I was talking about utilizing these fences for cover for Team Liquid, it started early. First attempt had turned their line of sight onto the teams inside the building, Complexity as such, but then Team Liquid was like, hey, you know what? I want a piece of that. We know we've got numbers advantage, and they were able to get a health reset before turning on to MPS and Complexity. But this right here, Vicky, this was the Shubi that we all know and love.
Man, the RE45 just literally ringing in my ears throughout the very end game right there. MPS coming out on top with 10 KP to their name. They just came out of game 3, not only being the winners on that final game on World's Edge with 5 KP, but taking another dub with double digits is always good to see.
Look at the second page of these results as well. We know MPS, Complexity did well, but the biggest thing is Space Station only got 1 point in terms of the storylines here. The guard also 0 points. CLG, Dark Zero, teams that are actually in kind of opposite positions, 4th and 18th respectively. Dark Zero not getting many points doesn't put them in a bad spot, but CLG not certainly means that their climb not turning into a climb. They're just trying to hold top 20, seeming like top 10 not really being possible right now unless they turn things around. Here is how it stands after 4. It is MPS in 3rd, Liquid in 2nd. What great performances from them. They haven't won a game yet, but that's how good they've been playing to be in 2nd place. And NRG, with the big win they had and their consistency, it's 48 points for them. Complexity right behind, and 100 Thieves right after that. This is going to be crazy. What a finish we have. 5 and 6 coming up very soon. The penultimate game around the corner for our last day 8 here in North America for the ALGS. Who will win? Will MPS stun the world? Let's find out right after this. Apex Legends Global Series Monster Energy, your official energy drink for the ALGS. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for another great day of the ALGS. It's day 8 out of 10, 10 being our regional finals. So we've got one more to go. And for teams like MPS, who are in Group A, this is their last day. Whatever points they get now are going to determine whether they have enough to auto-qualify for LAN or whether they have to be one of the teams that wins, the only team that wins in our final regional day, which is day 10. This is the upcoming Sunday from now. So 7 days from now, that will all be decided. But for teams in Group A, it's a big deal. Complexity as well to try to get as many points on the board. Let's bring back Vicky and Tiff, and of course, talk about it. The stakes are high. It's game 5. This is that swing game that I like to say, Tiff, really determines where you're going to be able to go. Vicky as well, you've talked about these teams having to perform. We've called them out. You focused at halftime on NRG. Will they continue to dominate and take a win? These questions ultimately going to be answered whether they want to or not as we head into game 5 of 6 here on Storm Point. Vicky, Kitty, Spider, Tiff, take it away.
Appreciate that, Rain Day. What Rain Day was saying here, Tiff, I definitely agree with. When it comes to NRG performing, they got to stay on top. Even though Team Liquid haven't taken a dub yet, they still consistently get top 5 in a lot of these other games. Wasn't surprised to see MPS take that game too, because we saw it pull over to the side of Antenna, and that is their POI. So we get to take a look at where they're going to be rotating to next, because nice for them to say that they are still in the circle for this game number 5. And the beacon is by Jurassic Park, so they'll be able to get involved in some early fighting soon.
Speaking of early fighting, we got CLG with an enemy in their line of sight, but nothing really materializing just yet. It seems like Oxygen Esports is split accordingly, with CLG just trying to hunt, but it looks like Oxygen was just trying to get the dubbed Rari, as I would say. I saw a little bit of Twitter drama between two teams, dubbing the one out by the wall, but Casellos, Loba, just wants to not only get her bag, but a nice trident to go alongside it. But you mentioned NRG, and they came into this match day in 13th place, just 3 points behind 9th place. And I feel like they've had their journey, this Pro League Split 1, cut out for them. But they've been putting in the work, trying to find this. Okay, pulling up in the car. I'm not sure what just happened there, but
He got ArcStar. No way that just happened. Are you kidding me right now? Optic pulling up, says, don't worry, we hear you guys wondering about. Throughout the ArcStar, stopped whatever attempt that was of pushing that trident, and then cleaned up that player. Oh, Oxygen not having the best time of their lives at the start of this game 5.
Oh no, I just witnessed a carjacking. Holy, I think we're watching Fast and the Furious, the next rendition, but Optic coming out of the mill, their favored drop spot. So you know they're already working with favored loot, because those supply bins in the center of the mill have at least blues all around, but you saw some purples. Now Kubski, just minimal amounts of heals. None of his teammates are back. We don't have Oizen Pai and Casello, so just a lone Valve player trying to make a play for their banners, and they were having kind of a good start on World's Edge. This might not go their way. Just trying to check it out, utilizing the jetpacks to stay afloat and take to the high ground to do a little bit of scouting.
Smart move, at least to try to make sure if you can get those banners or not, but you did make noise with the gravity cannon too, and at least if you are solo playing as either a Valkyrie or a Seer, does benefit you, not only because of the mobility that Valkyrie provides and the get out of the jail card of the Skyward Dive in the early mid-game, but as well as Seer with a heartbeat sensor to know which of the teams are within your vicinity. So Kubski, just hoping, doesn't look like can get those banners. I saw the timer actually very slim, and Optic Gaming wasn't going to let go of this area. So they're going to be able to walk away with 2 purple Evos. One blue, it looks like here. Another fight happening over on the other side with the Seer ult just finishing off. It's bots actually in this fight, sending out the EMP.
We did see in the kill feed, bots were able to get a down onto Albrelelli from FaZe already. So Snipe down and Slurp still upstanding unless they were able to get the res off on them. But bots able to just play this a little more slowly. Maybe FaZe is the one that's occupying the nut building on their right side, but Complexity always in a nearby distance. Hear a lot of noise surrounding them, but just trying to heal up. And it's going to be MPS on the other side of Complexity, Vicky. Pow Pow already going down.
That's huge here. There's so many teams in this area alone. You can see the black market out from the outside of Complexity's building. They knocked down Shubi. And what a turnaround for MPS after coming out of a back-to-back win from World's Edge into Storm Point. Now they're down 2 of those members. Complexity out for blood right now because this is another team that I love to highlight that are popping off today. They're very inconsistent with the way that they start off really strong in the Pro League, then kind of wavered off and now are looking to try to make this turnaround to guarantee their spot into the lane.
Madness trying to withstand any oncoming slot, but I don't think this is going to be enough. It's going to be the guard that finishes them off and gets to take a little bit of their loot, I believe. Also, Optic Gaming finding some success. They did get the last member of Oxygen off screen, but the guard, I know Rain Day was teasing me about it. They're like, are you happy with kind of your team to watch and the level of consistency? I'm just like, yeah, dude, they've got a game day in hand and they're still currently sitting in 7th place thus far with 1 more game. And if they can just reign supreme, I'll just stand guard and watch them do the work.
I see what you did there, Tiff. And before today, too, I mean, they were sitting tied with a Dark Zero, and they've had a very good day in comparison to what we've seen so far from Dark Zero. Unfortunately for Dark Zero, they're sitting the 2nd to last place in this lobby so far after the end of that game 4 here. And with the guard holding this choke point over on the north side, they have the information of where the circle is going to be pulling. We've seen the circle end up on the outside of the Gale Station buildings, but this also allows guard to kind of contest the teams that want to rotate from the south side of Antenna. Also thinking about G2 going down at the hands of Optic Gaming. So you highlighted that they were able to clean up the last member of Oxygen. They also were able to clean up G2. So Optic Gaming taking a much slower approach from the outside of the circle as Keon gets beamed over by the side.
It's rather tough to hold this area by the gravity cannon, but good to see that NRG is alive and thriving as they make their rotation down from the area just below Cascades, trying to get over towards Antenna. Maybe they can make their way, find some information from a beacon so they can kind of shell up and go the distance. Oh, thank God our observers giving us a little bit of the tidbits where the map is going to be. CLG out in the distance as well. Dark Zero still over by Launchpad. Could be an interesting fight because Sentinels typically comes down from just north of Launchpad, and you can see they are making their way into Dark Zero's peripherals, so could see some action over there. But the level of the amount of teams that are held up in Gale Station right now, it's chaos. We're going to see an onslaught, Vicky.
And we're about to probably see a fight from Energy right now, who are about to approach Optic Gaming and CLG. It's the fight for that beacon that you could see Optic Gaming approaching right now, but Energy have the positional advantage on the high ground that overlooks that building with the beacon. They're patiently waiting by to see which of these teams underneath them are going to be able to either notice Energy or if they're going to engage in a fight first. They have the information. They got the heartbeat sensor from the Seer, but it's about making the call of just being patient or to prioritize the rotation into that next circle. That is the question.
And I feel like we're looking at a different NRG that's finding success here today. You can see they are prioritizing their rotation. They're just going to go on the outskirts of what I would assume this cliff is called Bean. I saw some information on the timeline, Vicky. They're like, hey, just so you know, we will be landing Bean, which is the POI just to the left of those mountains for all times going forward. And I was like, bro, why is this called Bean? But if you look at the mountain, it kind of resembles a bean, so that's my best guess.
It does look like a bean, actually. I've never thought about that now until you said something, so that is forever going to be in my IGL comms when I play Apex Legends. So now looking at Sentinels, who have been having a pretty rough day, sitting in last when they were having some pop-off moments individually. Dropping down from the high ground, though, getting beamed by the charter article on the other side. Having to be careful with now the Rolling Thunder coming in. Sentinels trying to pinpoint which of these squads are trying to contest them over here by Launchpad. That could be Dark Zero. And we do see that in the overhead map, Team Smiley taking their time to rotate through. Cascade falls to the back, so a third party could be coming in shortly.
That is going to be Dark Zero on the other side. You can see Sharky is the one that threw down the Rolling Thunder, disengaged, giving them time. You know, if you're going to call an ultimate to force it into the line of sight, you can rotate off it. It provides a lot of audio and visual clutter and kind of takes up some LOS for them. So they got out of dodge, and now Sentinels can fend off against Team Smiley all they want. But Dark Zero has 2 maps to come back up the leaderboard. We were talking about them coming in tied with the Guard, but they only have this match day available to them. NRG taking to the roof, poke fighting, looking for some information, waiting on Sweet's call. Does have that ultimate available to them should they keep on the rotation, but they haven't necessarily pushed back in because I feel like they're running into the same issues. It's the same 2 teams, Vicky, so they're going to take to the sky.
I like this call as well, just to not only prioritize their rotation, even if they saw an opportunity to the third party, this is what their priority is. It's to be able to be on the edge of the circle, prevent themselves from getting circle kept by the squads who already had a rotational advantage from where the circle was going to be pulling, and then for them to also get the information that they need. There's a squad right in front of them. The Bangalore smoke has been used up to exit out of the barometer area. That could be Optic Gaming that they're trying to cut off, because Optic Gaming and CLG didn't heavily engage in that fight where the beacon was. Both teams wanted to prioritize their own rotation, and Energy is kind of just looking at the action happening in front of them.
And I think that's the strength in the call. You know, if IGL Sweet has to make that, prioritize this, and they do have a beacon in the nearby vicinity just to the north of them at their backs that could be relatively free to provide that information once the zone closes. Hitting the beacon now will provide the substantial information to tell them, hey, this is where we need to go next. But I'd be curious to see how that ring looks. We've had so many rings throughout World's Edge so far today that have been 50% mountain, and it's just been really tough to show presence and hold the fort down and get into the long game.
I like how you highlight that, because with so many teams already taking up Gale Station, we have seen this very similar circle actually pull towards the outside of the north building of Gale Station, or even the mountain side that Team Liquid could approach from if they're exiting out of the launch pad rotation area, which would also benefit teams that are still on the outside of the circle, like Energy, to capitalize off of getting the beacon right behind them. They're taking the time to not only get that set of information, but they're also denying that from the teams that were rotating in front of them, who may actually want to maybe take the beacon in barometer if a squad like CLG want to take their time into rotating into that next circle. So forcing a lot of these squads to take a lot more of a slower pace than they may like.
They'll definitely have the ability to place more of a gamble on which side that ring will pull, but Dark Zero incoming Arc Stars faced on the other side by Team Liquid. You can see the frag grenade going out, and a Seer exhibit is forcing Team Liquid to stay just on the outskirts. Nocturnal getting poked and prodded. Fun as well has that really gnarly scope on the charge rifle, so that's kind of interesting to see. But trying to get to the top of this rock, a very nice play for Team Liquid. Now they can just look down and wreak havoc upon Dark Zero, coupling it with the Newcastle wall on top.
Where do those rocks come from? Makeshift, some extra cover right underneath their feet. Nocturnal gets beamed by the flatline in the hands of Sharky, and with Sidestyle moving at an off angle, he gets 2v1'd. At the same time, Team Liquid get torn apart individually by Dark Zero here. So they go down in 15, sent back to the lobby, and Dark Zero have now cleared this side of the circle where there's only one other team that they can worry about in front of them, and that's going to be Luminosity, and they take the Newcastle wall for free.
Yeah, I was like, he flew right up there and was like, and I'll take this wall, thank you, because I'm going to play high ground a little bit better than you did, Team Liquid. So that was kind of a blunder on Team Liquid's behalf. I thought that they were going to have the upper hand the way they were setting themselves up for that fight. I thought it was a really good call by them. Unfortunately, it just didn't pan out. I don't think anyone was expecting Sharky to be an absolute menace with the flatline except everyone. We know just how strong Dark Zero is, and I mentioned it earlier, you just need a little bit of a stroke of luck coupled with some good rotations for them, and I think they'll find a lot of success. But Optic Gaming still alive and well here in map number 5. Would love to see them climb the leaderboard just a little bit more. Currently 7th place overall on the day.
That was 7 KP to their name here too. Nice to see, and the nice gold R301 is always nice to have in the hands of a heavy fragger like Skittles. See the Rolling Thunder getting pulled up here as Optic Gaming are going to back away. I know you and Rain Day were talking a little bit about their composition swaps when they make their way into Storm Point, rocking the Bangalore and the Bloodhound. Duplex is trying to get that information. It's Energy that have the high ground right here. We're also able to pinch that other squad that is neighboring right next door to them. But having the high ground is also going to allow them to circle keep Optic Gaming. And it's not like a skyward dive is going to benefit them, especially with all these squads inside these buildings.
I think we're just going to have a little bit of chaos. Luminosity not able to get it really going thus far today, currently coming into today in the top 9 overall, 12th overall on the day, but able to get a nice reset. Meanwhile, first attempt, Team Smiley going down in the elimination feed, and we've seen Vexed Gaming over on the EMEA region find a map win here from this peculiar situation, but they still need to pull more into Gale Station. You see the incoming Bangalore ult and Luminosity. This is going to be a rather tough rotation.
Luminosity taking some notes after actually studying what we had seen in our last day of Pro League. Monsoon in the feed, though, popping off, knocking down Sharky with that Kraber. So Luminosity now trying to move in. Nice Arc Star pick right there, too. The Thermite as well on top of it, finding the take damage. And Luminosity, that's the opening that they needed to cross over this open field so that way they weren't going to get pressured by other teams in the area.
One knock onto Genburton, and now Yanya forced to reconsider, find a different line of sight. Dark Zero going to fall. Now Luminosity getting the blessings because it's going to be Complexity from afar, peppering. Getting a clean reset here, but their journey is still not done. It was looking rather bleak for a moment, but now they're picking up eliminations and carrying on into that rotation. But if you know Complexity was helping you out in that fight, they've got to be in a nearby vicinity. And the question arises. Monsoon wants to make a play, get hungry. They found so much success here today. Love the positioning out of Optic Gaming, working this gravity cannon, a little bit of smoke to hide their cover, but they are getting peppered from 2 different directions. The team in the nut building to the right and Complexity on their left.
And with Optic Gaming having this high ground, it's not in the circle. They're gonna have to still move up just a little bit. Bit of this edge of the clip at least is in that circle, but they're gonna drop down instead. We want to hug the edge of the fence right here. Let's jump into a listen-in with Optic Gaming to see how they're gonna plan their next move for this upcoming fight.
Watch our left fence right here. I just seen him.
I smoked you guys.
I'm crossing. They're right here.
Get a scan on this building. I think it's just one team holding both floors.
2 seconds on scan.
We can't get swung from our back.
Speaking of from it. I'm playing on the door here with this.
All right, let's go.
It is one team.
I'm smoking the door.
You guys
I got a bat.
They have a re.
I'm batting here.
Me too.
Watch the door for me. Oh. They don't know you're there yet. You're going to them.
Obviously down rows.
Oh, getting deleted off. Rip. Getting deleted right the moment he popped a piece of the hunt. It was Complexity that had the last member of Optic Gaming Duplex in their line of sight with that crypto drone, and now they're in the line of sight of the squad that has a low ground. It's Luminosity that try to inch their way forward. Complexity now trying to send out the jet, maybe try to actually reconsider. They see the safety of the building. They're going to delete the crypto drone before the EMP comes out, and now Complexity still have the advantage here from inside this building. Well, this other squad right next door to them actually fighting for them in this space.
Doubling back, Complexity has a Kraber, an RE45, triple red Evo shields, and a bloodthirsty game here with at least 8 eliminations thus far. Holding that building has provided so fruitful for them, and just absolute menacing as they erase Luminosity here from map number 5. They did get information that there was a team in the building behind them. 210 on the Kraber from Monsoon. This is Monsoon's game, Vicky.
Monsoon's popping off. He used up the bullets in the Kraber right now. He's got to look for another weapon, but he's got the EVA 8, 6 bullets in the Dream, and from far away, that's not going to be able to do the damage like he needs to get done.
We just need another weapon for Monsoon. Which of these enemy teams wants to offer up their death box so Monsoon can continue on the domination? Slept on going to fall as well. Now 4 bullets in the EVA 8 alone. That is all they have. Lux and Shiny going to have to pick up the pace here for Monsoon. You can see, some well-needed ammo nearby in a crate, but the onslaught of teams, NRG, the Guard, Space Station, 100 Thieves, and bots out to the building in the right. This is going to be such a fun ending.
Yeah, 6 squads left here for the very end right here, and NRG are inside these buildings. Guild gets pressured out, but it was the last member of Space Station who also gets finished off. Complexity are farming right now in this lobby. Lux alone, I think, has like 6 KP to his name. That RE45 goes burr.
We all know that it goes a little more than burr, Vicky. I won't taunt you on it right now because I know that I want to hear your rendition of the RE45, but NRG making a lot of right calls, prioritizing the rotation. They found themselves inside the building, a nearby crypto EMP, but just playing it slow. They've made it to the top 5. Plenty of placement points, a couple eliminations on the way. We just need to force a lot of these teams to fight. You've got the Guard trying to hold down, show presence. Watson fences everywhere. Complexity, hopefully Monsoon found a different weapon, but the Guard turning their attention onto bots. Bots having to push from that other building throughout the fence. The question is, can the Guard get in there and stop the onslaught of the rotation from bots, and 100 Thieves making a play for potentially the roof?
They would have to face off against Complexity if that's the case here. Complexity are in a very good spot. If Energy get pushed on by 100 Thieves out here on the outside of this building, that could be another opportunity for a third party to move in. Guard playing on the outside, Energy playing on the inside, 100 Thieves on the outside by the rock side, and it's so many of the other squads now looking at bots playing by the fence line have little to no cover once the circle closes in behind them.
A little bit of calm before the storm, some attention onto bots, so a multitude of teams know they are there. Complexity inching their way in, missile swarming bots, trying to find some LOS on them. Meanwhile, Monsoon picked up a gold R301, so another nice upgrade for them. Going to be a good weapon to continue on their trajectory, but they have the ring at their back, and they're going to be forced off the high ground into the LOS of a plethora of teams, Vicky.
The Guard, 100 Thieves, Energy, Complexity, and Box here as the Seer ult goes out. We saw so many Crypto Drones get deleted. The Guard engaging in this fight here. Energy trying to get out of this building. Bots get eliminated, and Energy are still on the high ground right now as the Guard are going to be able to hide just for a brief amount of time. Wait out this bombardment coming in here too. They're going to be able to just wait patiently underneath this building. 100 Thieves have the Newcastle though, and that's the difference. They don't have the ult just yet, but they got the shield.
Oh, some big nades coming in from 100 Thieves if they can just stay alive. But NRG not taking a lot of damage, but standing the onslaught. That's disgusting, Guild. Taking out Complexity, and they stay alive. Sweet could be slapped with a wet napkin, but they're going to pull it off. NRG are your winners here in map number 5. Oh, wow. NRG continuing on the domination that we have seen thus far from them today. Vicky, I cannot believe it.
And with 7 KP at the very end, Energy being our second team in the NA region to take another dub after they were able to take the win game number 2 with 13 KP. We said it in the pre-show tip. We said Energy needs to be on top if they want an opportunity at playing at LAN, and better late than never, they are showing up.
Doing exactly what it takes, prioritizing their rotation over fights that really wouldn't pay off in the end for them, and run the gauntlet of potentially going out early and losing out on the potential of having, you mentioned 7 eliminations there just at the end. So you know that is going to be an absolute banger game for them. I can't wait to run through the highlights and see just how that had an effect on the leaderboard, because we know they were in first place coming into this, but not by much. So extending the lead ever so slightly with only one more map remaining on the day.
Crazy to see Energy really make this turnaround after their lackluster performance at the very beginning of the Pro League. You gotta call it as it is, but with those calls from Sweet to make the rotation into the circle, like you mentioned, to prioritize that building, and also the timing to rotate into the building that Optic got caught off guard on the outside of the building that Complexity was in, all trickles together into Energy making their move, making the plan to secure that building in the middle of that circle to take their time to rotate into that final fight.
Yeah, I like to kind of harp on the IGLs, and one particular call can change the trajectory of their game, and it was AGC a couple weeks back making the rotation and valuing that, making all the way up to the north end of Thunderwatch, resulting in a map win. And you called it, that moment to disengage from Optic Gaming, and I believe CLG not pushing in on them, electing to take the Valkyrie, going again around once more. I mean, it was a win. And you said it. The first team to find 2 was MPS. NRG now on 2 for the day, and we have 1 more map remaining. Can NRG make it a 3?
I wouldn't be surprised if they can, Tiff, especially with these calls coming in from Sweet. Again, I'm so happy to see that they decided to not engage in a third-party fight that could have been easy for them to clean up the KP and rather prioritize their rotation to circle keep those 2 squads between Optic Gaming and COD at the very end there too. So it's also nice to see NRG make their next move, so that way the priority here is to take that dub on top of the KP that they're going to inevitably clean up at the very end, as well as the fact that another consistent team, 100 Thieves, also remain to be in the end game a lot of the times with this Newcastle out here, but they didn't have the Newcastle ult at the very end where they really needed it.
And then Complexity, strokes of brilliance throughout the entirety of map number 5, and Monsoon getting the Kraber, bullying all the teams around them, finding elimination after elimination, but it all started at the beginning. Team Liquid from afar. Dark Zero working their way in, disengaging from a fight with the Sentinels to prioritize their own rotation here today. And this was the fight between Team Liquid, and I'm glad we get to see it from Dark Zero's POV, because that was insane. Team Liquid appeared to have the upper hand, and then Dark Zero just really laid it all on the line, and Luminosity trying to pave their way into the next ring, taking fight after fight, and this time Dark Zero caught the short end of the stick.
A nice little shift in the air real quick here too before Complexity not only clean up that squad, but clean up the squad on the outside being Optic Gaming. They were popping up. I think they finished with 12 KP at the very end. Monsoon having a great game, but limited ammunition to work with from the EVA 8. You can see Complexity also trying to contest that team on the low ground here, and the guard having to play their lives in the line of sight of not just NRG, but 100 Thieves too.
And the guard was on the low ground. Watson fences all about, but it was Complexity up in the air, wreaking havoc down below. 100 Thieves on the outskirts trying to stay alive, firing that wingman and finding a lot of damage. But unfortunately for them, it's going to be NRG who makes that last minute jump down. And it looked bleak at first, but Guild stayed relatively healthy throughout that and found a lot of success, resulting in a nice 19-point game with 7 eliminations for NRG.
Wow, and Complexity matched that with 19 points, even if they didn't get the dub, because they got double-digit KP at the very end and securing 3rd place. What chaos we saw go down over at Gale Station. We saw, what, 5-6 squads make their rotation there off the rip in that first ring alone. Obviously, by that second ring, we had over 8 squads already in the edge of that circle. Looking on the other side of the page here, too, even though Dark Zero were able to win that team fight versus Team Liquid, they walk away with 3 KP, but they only placed 11th before the third party rolled in.
Rather unfortunate they got caught out right after that engagement, but it's Oxygen Esports FaZe and MPS having 2 map wins under their belt, faltering in 18th place. Let's go ahead and take a look at the series results after 5 matches. NRG extending that lead just a little bit further with 67 points. Complexity 58 points in second. It's 100 Thieves who have been all present, as well as Team Liquid with MPS rounding out your top 5.
Beautiful here to see NRG stay on top. This is exactly what they needed. We keep elaborating that, but it's because of their performance in the rest of the previous Pro League days. And this is the best case that NRG could get, since they are in Group A, to work off of all the extra points that they could obtain throughout the day-to-day to qualify for LAN.
Yeah, this is Group A's last match day ahead of the regional finals. And with that being said, we only have 1 more map left on the day. So we're going to cut to a quick break. And when we come back, more action.
WD Black is the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everyone. It's match day 8 for the North American ALGS broadcast. We just watched NRG come off a massive win. I'm SpiderTip, that's Vicky Kitty, and we still have one more map left of action for you. And I can't wait to jump into it because NRG is finally giving the fans what they needed. You can tell every win, everywhere looking, they were asking, hey, you know, can NRG pull it together for ALGS? They're always winning the tournaments throughout the midweek before we get here on the weekends, but finally something seems to be going in their favor, Vicky.
Yeah, the adjustments that they've made while experimenting throughout the Pro League to figure out what they could do to make things work for themselves on Stormpoint have absolutely paid off. And it's not just Stormpoint out here. We saw them take a win on World's Edge in game number 2 with a great amount of KP. So they're feeling themselves. I feel like what we were talking about before after their win in game 2, where this is a team that obviously builds up confidence at the very beginning and then rolls with it, is paying off for them here. And in the day that it matters the most, what better way to come in than better late than never, as I always say for NRG.
Better late than never. I mean, it's still going to get you to playoffs if you can reign consistent throughout that regional final. Came into this just on the outskirts of the top 9, but if you can go home with a 25-point match day, this could be everything that you need. But let's jump on board with them. They dropped in just on the outskirts of that next zone. We got a little sneak preview of it, but it's Guild, you know, just that recent pickup to join Sweet and Nathan. And I feel as if the synergy between this trio is finally finding success in ALGS, and it's just a breath of fresh air at this point. I feel like I can breathe.
Yeah, you know, talking about Guild, we were joking about it in the preview real quick while we're waiting to get into game number 6. Guild is essentially like Sweet's Pokemon. He just sends out Guild, go get him, go frag out, and they'll be able to come together. And this is what's really paying off for this squad right now, where each individual player on Energy are so talented in their own unique way, and it looks like it's tying together at the very end of the day here for them, where NRG need to perform because this is their last day that they have the opportunity to obtain those points for land since they're out here in Group A. So as we take a look at what action we're going to have on our hands here, NRG just looking to farm some spiders real quick, living up to Tiff's name here, and just trying to get any sort of loot that they can work with to get into that next circle.
Oh, Vicky, you mentioned Sweet being the Pokemon trainer, Nathan and Guild being the Pokemons. What kind of Pokeball do you think it took for him to catch Guild? We're thinking the Ultra Ball here?
I'm thinking the Ultra Ball, or I'm going to give him the credit, the Master Ball here, because Guild is such a good player. He's one of those young legends that you always need to watch out for because he is so talented in his own way. And that's why I really like to see that this is working out for Energy, because again, they were sitting in 13th outside of being able to make it into land. With their pop-off performance alongside Complexity, I can't wait to see what the overall standings are going to look like. And looking at Complexity right now, they're not wasting any time and already rotate into this next circle. The Valkyrie passive already picking up on the teams that want to make the rotation through these choke points.
Yeah, just 10 points shy out of the first place. A little bit of an uphill battle thus far. You called it, the double time passive coming in, but playing it safe, and maybe the guard trying to come in through this area as well, which would be rather interesting because I feel like if you're going to have the guard rotating into the next zone, Complexity's not always too far behind them. They want to set up shop in the zone early on. So that would make sense for these two teams already thinking of where they want to go for endgame this early on. That's a pretty quick rotation.
Yeah, that and I could also imagine that beacon, if we could see an overhead map, that there's a beacon by Dark Zero and Complexity where Stormcatcher could get contested by easily 3-4 squads, and then coming in from the high to low ground uphill where the guard are hiding in the low ground at the moment, trying to see where the other teams are going to be rotating from the south side of the zone. This could pull either up north, and you can see the guard taking a lot of damage, and Dark Zero actually holding the high ground currently where the gravity cannon is.
I will check.
Ooh, Dark Zero is not a team that I want to take a 3v3 against this early on because they need all of the eliminations that they can possibly gather. Currently in 19th place on the day overall with only 11 points. So they're going to need a banger game, but it's actually going to be 100 Thieves with a longbow picking up one of the members of the guard. So they're just kind of sitting in that open field down there. not really going to be a good place to anchor. So I'm loving the high ground that Dark Zero is able to get right here.
Yeah, and with the gold Devo too that Zero's working off of, I mean, Christmas came early for this player, and see Gen taking a good amount of damage. He's going to be able to pop the Phoenix kit. He's got energy as well, so they may be able to split that amongst themselves. I know Zero's going to have to need a lot of energy with that gold Devo. Sometimes you don't even see it, but it completely deletes all that ammunition that you can work with. But with the patient approach holding on to the high ground right now, they're just looking to circle keep some of these squads that want to also get through this choke point here. As Rack Attack is the first squad to get eliminated in our final game of the day.
Patience is going to be key. A lot of those teams on the outskirts of this ring are going to be looking to make their way in. Complexity utilizing Lux on the Watson to fence up the area surrounding them. This is a great way to show a lot of presence, and Lux, an impeccable Watson player here, utilizing all of the pylons that they possibly can to maximize the amount of presence and their control of the space. Incredibly well done, but it's going to be Nocturnal who has a charge rifle taking down Rambo, who's another charge rifle enjoyer in the elimination off screen. So the guard taking a lot of heat, going to fall early here today.
They're scooting away from the charge rifle line of sight with the crypto drone, while that player on the low ground just keeps trying to find its aim and beam it down. Love how you also highlighted Lux being on the Watson, creating that space for Complexity on the side here, because this could be a make or break area for Complexity to work off of. Let's say the circle does pull more to the side in the Cascade Falls direction. They could be put into a direction where they could get through that choke point that's off to their side without getting caught in a lot of the chaos that would be coming in from Stormcatcher, if it's the squads that take their time to rotate from the north side of the circle. Team Liquid are actually on the low ground. You talk about the charge rifles, maybe one of those teams that are actually trying to rock that. Yeah, you can see from Fun, and he gets taken down before he could actually get to the safety of the Newcastle wall.
I feel like that's going to give the team that found that down, I believe that was slept on, the opening that they need, but I don't think it's smart to capitalize just on that down, because you know the reset is going to come in near immediately. You mentioned they already had their Newcastle wall up, and Nocturnal poking their head out, trying to find damage. 100 rounds of ammo for the charge rifle. So Evo Shields, it's time to farm.
Yeah, Nocturnal said he is not living off the land today. I mean, that's the beauty of having the Loba here, though, too, for Team Liquid, especially when it comes to trying to secure that final circle positioning, which is usually their angle. They're usually very good at predicting where the circle is going to be pulling, so they don't have to waver away even for extra loot or even having to overcommit to get to these death boxes. Missing some of those shots, a nice little head glitch from the team that's right across from them. Believe that may be Space Station from their rotation, leaving out of the launch pad area. A lot of these squads, though, are congested on the north side of this circle and by the launch pad area that Space Station is trying to shoot at Team Liquid from.
Seems we may be getting a Stormcatcher zone with more and more teams making their way in. We know Sentinels comes down from the north side, so I'm sure they'll be making a play for this soon. NRG on the very outskirts of the ring, making a very late rotation in, and I like that they're on triple purple. You've got Sweet with the gold helmet, so you can get as many Bangalore Rolling Thunders as possible. Utilize them for rotations, audio-visual clutter, just all-out damage, because Storm Point's POIs are so far apart from one another. And if this ring is going to pull towards the south side of Stormcatcher, it will be incredibly open as we get a nice map update thanks to our observers working behind the scenes. They are just on the outskirts. You can see FaZe held up at the beacon just in front of them, and I'm sure NRG wants a little bit of that information, so we could see a battle here.
Yeah, this could work great for NRG, actually, getting out of the circle and just restabilizing from the circle damage. I like how you highlighted NRG's Evo Shields that they're working with and the loot that they're also rocking, because they probably use those replicators to be able to boost up those Evo Shields, take their time to rotate outside of circle. FaZe do hear them healing up, though, and with the Seer, you already know that Nathan has already seen FaZe on the other side of that rock.
Oh, well, this is where push is going to shove, and we'll see if Sweet will send out his so-called Pokemon Vicky, because Guild already took an immense amount of damage. FaZe has the high ground. You got Alberlelli on the Catalyst. They're dropping down, looking to put the Thorn in their side, but I just want to see NRG disengage, maybe go through Command Center. This might not be a good shot for them. Sweet going to fall, and they're going to try to stick the res with Guild on the side, and they are just going to dodge into this tunnel.
Oh, FaZe not knowing that they can try to follow this on an in here, but Smackdown falls incredibly low to PK, claiming him Nathan with the suppressed fire, coming in clutch. They are able to get Sweet up, and the reset could come in. So Albert Lady saying, we gotta back off. We've lost out on one of our teammates. We already have the number disadvantage, and we've already taken too long to capitalize off of our knock.
Really nice seeing that PK come into play. You were right, Vicky. They were crafting not only their Evo shields, but getting themselves that Peacekeeper. So fun to see in play. I saw a lot of it actually in APAC North, and I was questioning, would more teams from North America craft up that PK? But it's going to be NRG that's doing it. So a lot of VOD review that NRG has been doing to find some interesting rotations. A lot of success here today. It's just honestly all working in favor for them.
Gotta cue the back to the lab music coming in out here. Came in from Dexter's lab, being able to study up all the VODs that they needed to study up, and they're reaping the success for it too. Also cleaning up that 1 KP from FaZe without trying to overextend themselves. Again, it's a priority of just rotating into that next circle. You can see the pings too from Energy already taking some shots at the squad that's right in front of them. They're looking to their 6 just in case that's a direction that FaZe may want to come out of, or if another team wants to take a late rotate, but they have to worry about the squad that's in front of them first.
G2 posted up in Cascades, a nice little windmill shot. Design falling because the team is going to take in, but it's Chaotic on the horizon. Throws down a lot of damage, able to get a shield crack, but here comes the ultimate. My, oh my, the rotations from this team. A lot of people nearby, but it's going to be Oxygen Esports on the other side of G2.
And with this fight happening here too, you can only imagine the noise that they're making for the teams like NRG or Optic who are on the edge of the circle, who like to play the edge, that are hearing some of this action go down. Design not being in this fight, obviously, to see if they can recover their banner. G2 not trying to restabilize, playing on the outside of the circle. They're taking a huge chunk of this circle damage, and Senpai couldn't pull it off.
That is an ill-timed med kit. Sometimes it happens to the best of us. Now a 2v2 situation. Casello's taking a lot of damage. Chaotic going for the insides. Just needs to get a good LOS on that teammate. You can see coming in, the pinch comes in behind from the Valve. An absolute beautiful one clip. Now you just need to find the other member. That's all they wrote from Oxygen Esports, your new kill leader. They aren't going to get third-partied here, but they're going to have to get the res off and get on the rotation with only a minute 30 left before that next ring starts to really tick down. That one's gonna hurt.
Kubsky looking behind, not hearing Chaotic much. That was a very relatable moment right there, looking at the opposite side as Risotto was capturing Kubsky's attention. Oxygen getting cleaned up. But with G2 now making this rotation just as a duo, like you mentioned before, Tiff, this is absolutely gonna hurt. They have a minute left. They're gonna try to pop off this res. And if they do manage to do that, again, the teams that like to play it by the edge may have themselves a ball in the park here to try to clean up some of that KP from G2 if they rotate from the north side.
We should maneuver that area.
Jumping on over to Luminosity, see what they've been up to here in map number 6, currently sitting in 11th place with 22 points. Rather lackluster performance out of them today, but knowing that not every day is going to be a star-studded victory is something, and 11th place for being one of the worst performances is not bad in any way, shape, or form here.
Not bad, but they want to still be able to stay in the top 9 to at least be comfortable and secure their spot in the LAN. And since they were sitting at 6, I'm worried to see what Luminosity's got in store here, especially with the performance that we're seeing between MPS, Complexity, and RG. What does that mean here for Luminosity? Even ending in 11th currently right now, they're taking a much slower approach, expecting a skyward dive, and that is going to happen with the circle closing in behind them.
Well timed. Hopefully it's not a coin flip where it's chaos on the end, but I'm praying for good travel. May the odds ever be in your favor, Luminosity. But looking back, you know, they've had one map day win, a couple 18-point days, and a 6th was their worst. And you can just see all the damage incoming. They are in the LOS. You never want to be the first team to hit that Valkyrie to get yourselves into zone, because everyone is going to be looking at you and wanting a piece of it, but they are relatively healthy. Not necessarily getting inted on just yet. G2. Scuffle. FaZe going down on screen as well.
Huge.
This is Optic.
Wow, this is actually huge right here. Yeah, that was Optic, and let's not forget they just got designed back in this game. So now they have the loot for Design to reset, back fully up to health with a different weapon loadouts as he couldn't access his actual box, and G2 are going to be able to come out from not only being at the number disadvantage, but taking their own time to get that res onto Design also means that they were already at the timing disadvantage for this next circle rotation too.
Oh, and now they're gonna walk up on the CLG fight. CLG taking an exit here, trying to get reset, utilizing that gold knockdown in the hands of their Newcastle player. But G2 is hungry. We said they had to be flawless, and anytime Chaotic takes to the sky in the grab lift, you know it's going to be an exciting moment. Able to get behind them and wreak havoc on Slept On. Chaotic, you are a menace.
Chaotic is feeling himself. You know that's a clip right there for Chaotic to go right behind them, clean up what was left of Slept On here, and G2 coming up of not only restabilizing away from Cascade Falls, getting that res, cleaning up 2 members of Optic and the rest of Slept On here. They're going to have all the loot to work with to rotate into that next circle. There's that choke point to their north where the spiders usually are, so they're going to be able to actually get this free rotation with another team trying to contest them.
Coming into the day, just inside the top 20 in 17th place with 48 points, Vicky. And they're in Group A. So this is their last match day ahead of that regional final. If a plethora of Group C teams don't evict them out of the top 20. So this is make or break, currently in 6th place overall. If they can have a banger game, which I see the number 11 up there for team kills with 5 alone on Chaotic. We just need to pray that they can hold this. Their back is clear. The Spiders chokehold could be a really nice place for them. Thanks to the observers for giving us that beautiful kill leader shot of G2. It looks good on G2.
Looks beautiful, especially with Chaotic skin here too. And they're going to be able to get even more loot. They're not worried about making any noise. They are feeling themselves for this game. And like you mentioned, Tiff, they need to have a pop-off game right now. Before this game, they were sitting in 9th before actually getting to the 6th place spot with all the KP that they've been able to rack up. Let's jump into a listen-in with G2 to hear out their next move.
Team right in front of us. Bangs low, bangs low. Heady body eater. They're stuck, they're stuck. They're gonna get pinched. Yeah. Bang was...
I'm gonna take you,
They're sitting in bangs low.
Popping it back, I got smoke.
I'm safe on me.
I'm with you.
I'm gonna full heal in this corner.
Newcastle's one on the right.
I have one more frag, I have a frag. I can get a good,
Drop a nade on that. Drop a nade on that. Drop a nade on that. We can't let them
I did. They've dodged it.
Keep holding them. Just keep pinching them. What's the other team?
Yeah, no, I'm just hardly decent.
We gotta clear them out.
They just throw nades.
We have no nades for that?
No.
There's between. Crack bang 80.
She's right here, he's here.
They're getting rinsed from behind.
Sis one.
You're dead. Stock low.
Hey, one more, last one.
One dead.
Rise. No.
We're
pushing.
No, I can't.
Just energy griefing us again.
There's no way.
Just griefing us our free dub.
Oh, Designful with a dream. Immediately deleted here after 100 Thieves make their way behind Energy and capitalize off of that third party before G2 can help restabilize after taking out NRG. Can we talk about that gravity lift position from Chaotic getting all the way up by the tree to get out of the line of sight of 100 Thieves though?
I mean, it's Chaotic plus gravity lift equals firm handshakes all around. You mentioned a dream, though, Vicky. It's more of a nightmare. I just feel like G2 could have had such a solid day if they wouldn't have gotten third-partied so much. But it is half the battle of Apex Legends. Sometimes it's a third party, sometimes it's a fifth party. And now we have the south of Stormcatcher zone, and it is going to be an ultimate chaos. You can see in the upper right hand of your screen, Sentinels getting dicey with Dark Zeros, and also Luminosity Gaming. Dark Zero going to fall. 5 squads remaining, and Luminosity appears to have the upper hand.
Right here, Luminosity now coming up right behind Sentinels here with 5 squads left in this lobby. It's FPS, 100 Thieves, Luminosity, Sentinels, and Optic Gaming. The last member of Optic Gaming as being Duplex, just trying to ride out for his life.
Complexity's already fallen. Team Liquid's already fallen. Your current lobby leaders, NRG, already fallen. 100 Thieves could make a play for first place should they edge out the rest of the teams and find success here. But it is a physical, literal uphill battle. As you can see, 100 Thieves has Luminosity in their eyesights. Just behind them is going to be Optic Gaming, Vicky. We thought they relatively went out, but look who it is.
Duplex living for his life, thinking to himself, as long as 100 Thieves are busy with what's going on in front of them, I should be good until that circle starts closing in and Dupe is going to have to inch forward. But I like how you highlight how 100 Thieves is doing right now because they have 63 points to their name. They are right behind Energy, who have a 10-point lead. This would be huge if 100 Thieves ends up winning with Energy not being in the lobby anymore.
They're going to need at least 3 more eliminations, and Luminosity looks to have what they need, but you can see the rolling thunder about to be unleashed on them. Onmu grabbing that ultimate accelerant, probably going to be able to get the Jenny down in time and prevent that onslaught of damage. Does get tagged up, but able to retreat, and now the push comes to shove, and 100 Thieves is answering back.
Make way here for Scurry and the Newcastle wall. He's making sure everybody gets shoved off from the high ground as 100 Thieves are looking to break their way into taking that first wave spot. Scurry managing to land some of these massive shots. Doesn't get the hipfire all the way with the flatline. 100 Thieves are crumbling. Duplex now making his way in to try to clean up what's left. No way is he gonna do this. No way is he gonna do this. He got the shield swap at the very end.
Oh, we've seen Optic Gaming in standout scenarios. In particular, Skittle Cakes with that shield swap clutch, but now Dupe looking to have a little bit of success on their own. Just needs to get an LOS on Onmu. This is tantalizing, Vicky.
What a way to bring this to the very end. 100 Thieves, they want this stuff, but so does Duplex. Optic Gaming need it even more right now. He gets the crack. They trade crack for crack. Dupe gets off the side, and Optic Gaming win the final game as a rat. Are you kidding me? What a way to close day number 8 with Optic, the green wall coming up.
I gotta let you have that moment, Vicky. I know your team to focus on early in the pre-show. It was Optic Gaming. I feel like you're gonna have tears of joy joining you soon. We highlighted 100 Thieves pinched in the middle, Luminosity in their eyes, and a little Dupe in the corner.
Can you imagine?
Welcome back.
Can you imagine, Tiv, if 100 Thieves were able to see that Dupe was behind them the entire time? They don't have a seer. They don't have a heartbeat sensor to look behind them and just double check. They're rocking the Watson, the Valkyrie, and the Newcastle. And Dupe was praying at the very back end, saying, as long as nobody sees me, with little to no cover, we're good. But the timing at the very end helped out Optic at the very end there too.
Patience is a virtue, and Dupe had it. Rain Day, welcome back. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how map 5, but in particular map number 6 wins with Dupe as the ultimate rat.
Well, it was the patience of Dupe that really made sense, and you could hear the crowd, if this was at LAN, giving that low chant of Dupe after a play like that. I might be screaming. I might be there. You might hear a scream in the corner. Ah! That would be me because of how hype I would be in this situation. I mean, it was something Optic kind of needed. They had some trials and tribulations to go through today, yet winning that game here, getting at least 14 points, because we don't know how many kills that they got, but I think they got 1 kill on a Neazul, and then they got another kill onto Onmu, and then they ended up finding a final 12 points, meaning that coming in 25th, that's at least going to be 39 that they've got. Is it enough to get them in the top 5? It's going to be hard, but ultimately, I just felt that this was executed perfectly. Otherwise, yeah, it was 100 Thieves game to lose, and Tiff, yeah, I was very surprised, but ultimately, well-deserved, I think, by the hands of Dupe to play that to perfection.
Yeah, it was kind of a blessing. At first, Dupe able to shake themselves out of those early engagements and just live in a heavy scan legend meta. You mentioned it, Vicky. There were no scans on the hands of 100 Thieves. It is that legend composition that would have been the thorn in the side for Dupe, but playing it so patient, so well, biding their time, ring at their back. And, oh, man, what a well-timed third party.
I'm still thinking about 100 Thieves who needed that dub to actually be first in the lobby, and it was just trumped by Duke, who swooped in and took the dub instead. I don't think it is enough to be able to be in the top 5 like you're mentioning, Ray, but still, it's a great effort here because they still have another day of play.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that ultimately is going to give them hope. I mean, knowing that things didn't go perfectly well today, it was a little tumultuous, and yet they still can pull off a moment like that. I think it's weird to imagine a LAN situation without Optic. They certainly feel that way, but they have made adjustments, and those adjustments have paid off. Maybe not in the biggest ways that we've seen. 100 Thieves, I thought they were going to steal first place away from NRG, but I think NRG might have just held on. It's going to be very close, though. Complexity, you would imagine it was 1 points. It'd probably be a third. Great.
But yeah, G2 looking incredibly strong here, especially with Chaotic on that grav lift. We got a good tidbit of it. Another view. Pow with the bow check in hand. A little bit of Legolas action. We know MPS needed a standout performance here today, and they are doing just that. But it was right here, Designful, after this perpetuous fight with NRG and the impending third party. All attention goes on to the final 5 squads, Vicky. This is where things got incredibly dicey.
Yeah, Luminosity playing off the back end here. There was so much chaos happening in this hill alone. 100 Thieves were playing this tree side perfectly with what they rocked, especially with the Newcastle wall that came in, allowed them to get the high ground, put in the pressure. They were trying to pretend like they were Legolas out here, but it was Duke who came in at the timing that he needed to come in to help Optic Gaming win at least this final game. Even getting the shields off to get the red Evo shield to not only rock the blue Evo, and then getting the slide and then finishing off basically one shot there too at the end. So cleaning up the 2 KP allowed Optic Gaming to also secure some extra additional points that they needed.
Yeah, a good 14 points for Optic Gaming. 100 Thieves in second with 18 points, and Luminosity rounding out your top 3 with 16 points, Vicky. But MPS, Sentinels, Dark Zero all finding brief highlights, but look down at G2 in particular.
G2, 14 KP. I mean, we saw what Chaotic was putting down. We saw how much KP he was working with, but to get 14, imagine if they got top 5 out here, how those points would have looked for them too. But it's still having a very strong endgame was something that G2 needed.
Jumping on over to the back half of the leaderboard, 11th through 20th place. Team Liquid finding once again some well-needed KP in an initial fight, but not able to double down and find success. You know, team coach, manager Hotsick not going to be impressed with that, but overall they were coming into this match day second in points just by 1 point. So sometimes you can have lackluster days. Not every day is going to be perfect.
Yeah, Team Liquid probably finishing off in 5th. Yeah, here we have the actual series results from the day alone, finishing up in 5th with a 1 point difference between themselves and MPS, the squad who took 2 games, one on game 3, one on game 4. So that should also highlight how Team Liquid, a team that has not won a game today, still were able to stay in the top 5 with their consistency.
I say not going to be perfect, but it's still a top 5 performance. That's just the level that I have Team Liquid at, right? They're not winning every match, but they are always there. In G2 coming out in 6th, doing everything that they can. Well done.
Always nice to see here too, Rain, as we bring you back in. I know you were looking at the results out here and now looking at where Team Liquid stands right on top of TSM.
At Liquid, that's the type of
Yeah, this is going to be really tough. I think we're still losing Rain Day, unfortunately. But you're right, Team Liquid in that penultimate position, 102 points, triple digits. But you have to jump down and look to the teams that are coming from Group C. You've got Space Station there in 11th place with 70 points. And as we jump on to the back half of the teams that are facing relegation, Sentinels just on the outskirts. Yes, they have a match day in hand, but FaZe still in 20th place alone. That's not going to be good for them, Vicky.
Yeah, Sentinels need to start cooking. C9 as well being on the cusp of being relegated too. So Fortunately for C9, they have another opportunity, I believe, actually, if they could have the ability in that Group B to at least perform in a lobby as stacked as TSM and Fury are being right next to you out here too. But Space Station as well, also being on that border, they also needed to perform today. They didn't have the opportunity, but they still have another day to work with.
Another day to work with, indeed. But let's jump on over to the series kill leader. This is what I always get excited about. And when you have two members of NRG at the very top, you've got the Pokemon trainer himself in second place, and then the Pokemon in first. Vicky?
I love to see it. I love to see Guild have his pop-off moments too. We were talking about Guild, highlighting him in the last game for all the right reasons. Sweet right behind him with 13 KP that he was able to secure throughout the day. You see Chaotic also at the very bottom. We saw him have his pop-off moment in that previous game, finishing with 11 kills with fun FPS, on move, Vaxon all right next to him. Yanya, of course. We have to highlight Yanya, who's always been that heavy fragger for Luminosity. The Zypful too. G2 also having their own stand-up performance at the very end with 100 Thieves.
So many teams finding a lot of success here today, but that begs the question. We always like to have a little bit of discussion after our series is over. It's going to be that Monster Energy MVP nominations, and I'm excited, Vicky. Who do you have for your nominee?
I gotta give it to the very end right there because I'm running off of being as hyped as I could be off that last game. I'm gonna give it to Dupe despite some of the early mistakes that we saw World's Edge. It's okay. It came in clutch at the very end, and that's what matters for Optic Gaming because they needed a W. They need to continue on with this domination. If they can at least secure themselves the confidence that they need to perform for the final day of competition for day number 9. 100 Thieves here. We're playing up the back. They were playing so well today themselves. The Texas boys that I gotta give credit to, and with no seer, they didn't know it was Duke who was hiding right behind them. There's 100 Thieves that were able to get onto the high ground, move up with the Newcastle wall, and leave Complexity incredibly low. But they fell low themselves, and with the perfect timing for Amu to not get reset, Duplex made his way to clean up not only these duels, but also the last member of 100 Thieves.
Fully sending on and then stealing the Newcastle wall and utilizing that to deal the final blow to 100 Thieves is something that I would have not expected, but Dupe able to pull out an immense clutch, and now you can hear it. We were screaming it, Dupe!
Gotta give credit where it's due out here. I love to hear the LAN chants. I want to be able to see this squad make it over to LAN, or at least have the opportunity in the region finals out here to at least qualify, because Optic Gaming's definitely been one of those crowd favorites to look at perform in the competitive Apex space.
I love that. I think it was a very valiant choice there for a nominee, but mine is gonna have to be NRG, and in particular, the Pokemon trainer himself, NRG Sweet, the brains behind the operation. I know I really wanted to talk about it because we were like, is it Guild? Should it be Sweet? But the brains behind the operation are proving to be incredibly fruitful. And yes, they've had a rather lackluster start here in Pro League Split 1, but I feel like today they really found the team synergy and everything worked out in their favor. In particular, that exact moment with that coin flip of the Valcolt, Vicky, that's where things got really scary for them.
Yeah, to hear our MVP nominees out here between Sweet and Dupe. Sweet had such a great day, built up confidence very early on World's Edge after they were able to take that game 2. And after that, it kind of just rolled in their favor. I like the calls that we saw from Sweet, whether it be disengaging, prioritizing rotations, prioritizing information with the beacon before planning their next move, because at the end of the day, it's Energy that wants to be that consistent team to not just take the KP that they need, but to take the dubs on top of it all.
Yeah, very great points all around. Also, the Complexity boys, Shiny, Monsoon, finding levels of success here today. But that's all. Love a good, healthy discussion. Thanks to Monster Energy here for that MVP discussion. Now, we turn the tides on to what is next. We always get to bring someone in and ask them a lot of questions. And I'd be really excited to let you know that we have NRG Sweet on the line. Vicky and I get to kind of poke and prod and ask a lot of questions for him.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rain Day just resetting a little bit out here as we're going to be able to talk to Sweet. I'm excited to ask him his thoughts for today. You know, I know it sounds very basic, but it was Energy that was trying to figure out what worked out for them. So what better way to ask Sweet directly from ourselves to him to figure out what trickled down today to allow Energy to find the success that they needed to find desperately so that way they could make their way into LAN.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello? Oh, barely.
Hi.
There you
Okay,
are. I was
sorry.
gonna say, they told us we've got you. Hey, what's up,
Yeah,
sweet?
I'm just
How
making
you
sure I'm
feeling
here.
after
Hello,
that?
hello.
Oh, no.
All right, sorry I have no cam.
Hello, we
but,
hear you. Can you hear
hi,
us?
I'm here. Yes, I hear you.
Okay,
Welcome in, sweet. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join and hop on the virtual phone line with us. Congrats on a successful day. How are you feeling after this series?
Feeling good. A little demoralizing getting no beacons on Storm Point for the 3rd week in a row and getting 3 of the exact same zones in the middle of the map, having to rotate across the zone. But we did it finally today and overcame the odds and couldn't be happier.
You did it. You covered those odds immensely. Every time I would see a Valcolt from y'all, I'd flip a coin and say, may the odds ever be in your favor. And it seemed like they were for the most part, despite the lack of beacons. But coming into ALGS game day, a lot of people have the question of, what is NRG doing? Why weren't they finding success early on in ALGS? But what do you think necessarily changed on your side? Was it team dynamics? Things just seemed to click for you today.
Well, we just had to completely relearn how to play the game. Across the entirety of Pro League, we played 30 zones. On World's Edge, we got 0 out of 15 zones on our quadrant of the map, and on Storm Point, we got 1 of 15. We're a team that picked 2 landing spots that are pretty favorable. We land staging and checkpoint.
Yep.
How many times have you seen a thermal station zone? How many times have you seen a staging zone? We got 0 of 15 throughout the duration of Pro League. Swap to Storm Point, the checkpoint beacon all of a sudden just never spawns. So quite literally, we had to relearn and recreate our macro because the variables that were spawning for us prior to Pro League just didn't for whatever reason. So RNG definitely wasn't on our side, but it takes time to put together a new macro plan. And we put together the Bangalore Seer comp on Storm Point as well as Lobo Watson on World's Edge, changed our play style. It took us a few weeks to get there, but here we are.
I mean, it's definitely paying off. So I just want to give a shout out to you because obviously you're the brains behind the operation. You can see here just how meticulous you are and all the way down to the zone pools. And you're right, not a lot of thermal station pools for sure, but I'm going to hand it over to Vicky to hit you with the next question.
Yeah, you know, I actually really love to hear your output on how these circle pulls have actually affected your team negatively, because we saw the decision making go down between your rotations, whether to call off third parties, whether you just wanted to prioritize either getting the next beacon that was far away from your POI, or whether you wanted to out-rotate other squads like we saw between CLG and Optic Gaming on Storm Point at one point. And I really enjoyed the fact that you guys made that call because you guys got into the building, into that final circle by a Gale station quicker than the other squads that didn't take that faster rotate. So that's really interesting to hear you talk about that and how these rotations just weren't favoring you and where the circle pullings were actually going for on World's Edge and Storm Point. But my question is, between your dynamic between Nathan and Guild and having Guild on the team, can you talk to us a little bit about how Guild has kind of put down the work for NRG? Because Guild's out here performing to the degree that you guys are basically sending him out. We call you the Pokemon trainer, we call him the Pokemon, for all the right reasons out here. I mean, he was fragging out alongside you. Well, how's their dynamic as a team?
100%. Yeah, I mean, adding Guild to the team, it was no secret that prior to ALGS, we won virtually every tournament you could possibly win leading up to this. Now, ALGS rolls around and a lot of people started to think that Guild was the issue, or Nate doesn't have the passion, or I'm the issue. But in reality, Guild and Nate played at the top of the game every single week. And the thing holding us back every week was, very simply put, my macro strategy. My micro, I think we actually have statistically the most individual game wins in ALGS this season in terms of intra weeks. However, when it comes to actually getting to the end game, that was my biggest struggle as an IGL. We got to the end game, we would consistently win, but my macro took a huge hit with this new variance of zones and beacons and stuff. So it took a while to put it back together, but put some new stuff together today as an IGL and it paid dividends. But Guild and Nathan, I mean, Guild specifically as the new member of the team, just literally one clips everybody, widely regarded as the best controller player in NA, and always proves it day in and day out.
Well, thank you for that insight. I'm really excited to see what you are going to do next alongside Nathan and Guild. Sweet. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, but I want to throw it back to you one last time. Any shout outs for anyone out there after today?
Yeah, shout out to the checkpoint beacon. I hate you. And shout out for not getting a single harvester beacon, staging beacon. Oh no, excuse me. Never getting a staging zone, thermal zone, harvester zone, landslide zone, or a tree zone in 6 weeks of Pro League. Where's the variance? Make it fair. Come on, they're trying to hold us back. I know we won everything, but geez, man. Definitely losing to the math gods, but thank you guys both for casting. You guys are phenomenal at it, and thanks for having me. Hope you guys have a great night.
Thank you so much, Sweet. Have a great evening, and it was such a joy to hear from them right there, Vicky. I'm curious to hear your final thoughts on the day as well. I had a blast jumping on the mic and casting all of the action alongside you, but there's only more action to come, so let's hear your thoughts on the day.
Thank you so much, Tiff. I love listening to Sweet talk. I'm the IGL for my squad, so when it comes to taking notes, I actually like to watch Sweet and the way that they're able to stay composed in very tricky situations. And to hear the frustration, you can hear it. You can hear it at the very end, but you also see the sense of relief, being able to finally come out on top, displaying how energy are so strong individually and what can happen when they make the magic work, even making composition swaps to deal with the lackluster beacons that they have to work with, to deal with the tough rotates. So it's always nice to see the adaptation come out from a team like NRG. With even the last day being on the line for this squad, they still came out on top. I gotta ask you the same question though, Tiff. What are your wrap-up thoughts after the day of action that we had unfold today in NA?
I mean, he was just spewing passion at that point, so it was really beautiful to see NRG find that macro strategy that is going to pay off dividends, like Sweet said, but complexity and even the moments out of G2 as well. But only time will tell as we overlook just 1 week away from the regional finals and one more match day on December 15th, where Group C will have yet again another shot to find themselves in the top 20. But I cannot believe the level of excitement we have had. Thank you so much, Vicky, for joining us. I hope you have an amazing day. I know it was you and I's last broadcast here so far, and it was a great time to have you.
Thank you so much, Tiff. I appreciate it. I had a great time here casting on the broadcast, and I can't wait to see you guys over at LAN.
Ooh, I know that's the question on everyone's mind, but next Thursday, match day 9, we are going to have Group B versus Group C for one last chance to find themselves inside the top 20 with teams like Fire Beavers find success. That's going to be for the EMEA side. I got to see them throw down and find immense success early on this morning. So if you are not watching the other regions, please go do so. The VODs are going to be up. I'm sure watch parties will be all around. Find something that you enjoy. Optic Gaming finding success, but Furia is going to be back. HEC will be back. BR Demons, the contest heavy team, going to be back. So I guess you are going to have to go get some water, get some popcorn, because this Thursday, all the ALGS action returns. But that's all from me. I'm Spider Tip, and we had Rain Day and Vicky Kitty alongside me throughout the duration of the broadcast today. I'll see you at the next one.